It's time to pull up a stool and grab your spot at the bar. The stadiums are dark, the scoreboards are off, and the final whistle has long since blown. But in here, the lights stay on. Welcome to the ETB Lounge on the Empty the Bench Network. This is your official post-game nightcap, where we break down the biggest hits, pour one out for the heartbreaks, and dive into the stories that linger long after the clock hits zero. Whether you're here for sharp analysis or one last round of sports talk with the best fans in the game, you've come to the right place. The games are over, and the conversation is just getting started. It's a Gen Alpha holiday. It's June 7th, folks. If you don't know what that means, congratulations. Like all of us elder statesmen, millennials, or Gen Xers, your brain hasn't become completely liquefied by TikTok reels or Joe Rap edits of LaMelo Ball. But if you're a victim of the internet plague, you know the absolute brain rot energy dominating the sports world right now has absolutely no fixed meaning, makes zero sense, and is currently driving every American adult like us on this show absolutely insane. But tonight, the numbers do matter because 6'7" isn't no mere meme, but a massive vertical hill the rest of the sports landscape is trying to climb. Welcome back into the ETB Lounge, everybody. My name is Callan McClurg. Tonight, though, we kick off with a massive breaking news story involving a lawsuit a week away from UFC Freedom 250, including another one involving live golf status further getting plagued by financial issues. And also on the hardwood, the Knicks have stunned the basketball world. Well, maybe not some of us. Jumping out to a 2-0 series leading the NBA Finals, while the Vegas Golden Knights almost had a catastrophe last night, but have punched back to hold the 2-1 edge as the battle for the Stanley Cup continues. Plus a wild night and week of play in Paris as two unknown players, Amira Andreeva and Alexander Zverev, capture historic French Open titles after every big name falls on the way to the championship. A baseball landscape officially hitting the June panic button, including San Diego, and our final countdown to the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup. The lounge is open, folks, on this Sunday, June the 7th, and I am not fighting the brain rot alone. Joining us at the bar tonight is our good man, David Weightman, Nick Morganson, and for the first time on the lounge, our good man, Zain Bando, to talk all things in the sports world. Gentlemen, the Knicks are rolling. Vegas is biting back, and I promise you that we won't be yelling 6-7 for the entire rest of the show. Mr. Morganson, great to see you as always. How are we doing tonight?
I'm good, man. You know what? It's been an interesting couple weeks as we try to get our scheduling intact for UFC Freedom 250, if there is one. And you'll hear about that in a little bit. That is what you call a tease in the business, people. But I'm good. I'm a little tired. I've been out all day. Almost wasn't expecting to be on tonight, but I'm here.
For those wondering, Conor Rowland might be taking a sledgehammer to his computer, which blew up on him about an hour plus before the show today, for those that are wondering.
Yeah.
Also, our good man, David Weightman, who is eagerly waiting for the World Cup to start as well, joining us from Philadelphia, PA. Mr. Weightman, welcome aboard. Good to see you as always. How are we doing today?
Doing good. Like I said, fun weekend. A lot of baseball, a lot of good sports, period. Going to be curious how this whole UFC thing pans out with courts, how Trump reacts to it, how Dana White reacts to it. Should be an interesting week for the UFC. If they wanted press, they're going to get it.
And no one better to join the lounge for the first time a week away from what we're hoping is going to be the biggest and baddest card of all time for UFC is our good man, Zain Bando, joining us from just outside of Chicago, Illinois on this Sunday. Mr. Bando, welcome aboard. Good to have you. And certainly, Zain, right place, right time for you to be on the lounge, including the big news involving next week's events from the nation's capital.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it's supposed to be the start of a banner summer for the UFC. We'll see if it gets off to the start that the promotion hopes it will. But yeah, should be a fun discussion tonight. And I can't believe we're already a week away. We're actually in 1 week from right now is when the card is supposed to begin. and so we'll see if we can get to next Sunday as unscathed as possible. But it may or may not be the case, so we shall see. So.
Yeah, we shall see. So we got a full week to go before we get there. We'll have plenty of updates, though, folks, again, about our coverage coming up for the FIFA World Cup starting Wednesday. What we have planned for the full weekend, including Zain and Tom's coverage of UFC 250, all that and more over the next 2 hours and 55 minutes. But before we get that, though, some housekeeping notes here from the bar tonight. Again, follow us on social media. That is at the ETB Lounge or at ETB Network for both sides of the coin, both the show and the network. And, of course, go like and subscribe. And please ring that notification bell at youtube.com/ETB Network. And more importantly, come back and join Nick Morgeson and Johnny Montalbano for a Game 3 recap of Spurs and Knicks on Monday following Game 3 from MSG in New York. New York, start spreading the news. With that, though, guys, we are going to spread some news, though. But, of course, we lead off today, though, gentlemen, with a massive bombshell dropping as we, again, with the tease per Mr. Morgeson, as we said. But we are, though, guys, going to jump in, though, that is to the major headline, though, that we do now have some concrete details today. But right now, gentlemen, a federal lawsuit filed by the Public Integrity Project is now seeking to garner an immediate injunction to stop the UFC 250 Freedom card set for next Sunday, June 14th, on the famed White House South Lawn. They already have the structures in place. Everything's good to go, though, but the filing does claim, though, that the Trump administration's approval of the commercial mixed martial arts event is entirely unlawful. This lawsuit, though, has argued that that the event violates the country's National Park Service regulations that would ban a commercial sporting event on federal park property, skip mandatory environmental reviews, and also lacked congressional approval for the massive 5,000-seat arena and towering American flag-style arch currently being built on the White House lawn, with the White House today dismissing the lawsuit as both baseless and also obstruction, and also a obstruction charge as well, calling it no different than any other permitted South Lawn event. Meanwhile, though, because the White House sits outside the standard D.C. Athletic Commission jurisdiction, the panel, or with that in mind, though, but because of this, though, this is being left up, though, to the ABC, not the TV station, but the Association of Boxing Commissioners, stepping in to assign judges and referees for this event. Zain Bando, you are our lead guy for MMA coverage here on ETB. Obviously, we kind of talked, though, in the buffer room or back in the kitchen area before we came on the air today. Concerning this lawsuit, though, Zain, coming out roughly around noon Pacific time today, or even early this morning, that this had just come out of this, injunction to stop the card from happening. There's also been an undercurrent, as you and I kind of discussed a bit on Saturday. Now the undercurrent, though, is both the lawsuit, Zan, but also the undercurrent of weather being a factor for the first time ever for a UFC event, though, with potential thunderstorms. We're talking about 90-degree weather, potential humidity that would lead to maybe some rain falling around the area. So, Zan, your thoughts, though, about this news coming out, and especially, though, Zan, a week before the fight card, though, next Sunday from D.C. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's highly confusing, number one. We were kind of talking off the air, and this is pure speculation, but we don't know, with it being public as of today, we don't know how long this lawsuit has been in the pipeline, number one. And number two, I think for those who are panicking, like, oh, are we going to have an event next Sunday? I would almost 99% say the answer is going to be yes. And the reason why I say that is because all the prep work is done, all the bells and whistles are done. The card's been known for a couple months now. I think to pull it the week before the event is a catastrophe for everybody involved, regardless of whether you support the event or you don't, and regardless of political ideals and stuff like that. I'm not here to insinuate any of that. What I am saying is the timing couldn't be more strange. That's number one. And number two, this weather factor, I don't think they've done, to me, based on what's publicly out there, I don't think they've done the greatest job of pretty much kind of being as fully transparent as possible. Like, I understand that if there's lightning, they can't do it. But I just think, kind of like what some other pundits have said, I think you really impact the outcome of a fight or how the fight could go if the weather is a certain way. I mean, MMA is meant to be competed for or with in a controlled environment. So this is very unique. The only other known outdoor event that I can think of that they've done is Abu Dhabi, and that was over 15 years ago. That they did that. All the COVID bubble fights when they were there were indoors. So I think there's a lot more questions going in for the, I guess, unexpectedness of the event. Like, I have no idea. Besides how some of the fights may play out, I have no idea really what to expect from a production standpoint. I think the spectacle of it is what people are really interested in. I mean, I can kind of tell this is a big event when I have people texting me that I haven't heard from in years, asking me if I know anything about the fight and how to watch it. So I think it's very interesting. I think there's a global crossover appeal, and I think those that have gotten the invites, they're very few and far between. People are trying to, I guess, wrongfully or / illegally sell their FanFest tickets. It's total madhouse, but I'm looking forward to seeing how Sunday plays out, assuming there is a card. And just as a brief reminder for those who maybe are used to the traditional format, no prelims, 7 fights. It's an 8 p.m. Eastern start, and I'm sure it's going to be one fight after the other. So that's all I can really say about it.
Well, it looks like we have some comments. Tom, actually, who's watching us right now, if we want to hit a couple of those. So here's some commentary from Tom, who hosts Fight IQ, which you'll hear tomorrow. You'll hear me talk about that later. But in his opinion, Trump's involvement makes the event meet the 250th exemption set in place by the National Park Service. Combine it with the timing, I don't think this shoot goes forward. He also says if something were to happen, the event will still happen. The UFC once moved an event on days' notice from Vegas to Inglewood when the NSAC wouldn't allow John Jones to fight in late 2018, which I do remember that, actually. And third, I think the weather is going to be a more interesting situation.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The weather is going to be the most fascinating part about it, I think.
So,
and by the way, and I know people have the gripes about him, but according to Luke Thomas, apparently the Washington Capitals arena has not been contacted to host the fight last minute or any of those properties. So it's all full go with this outdoor format, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. So,
yeah, and I think that's the only indoor arena that I think would be able to hold enough people. I think they can hold 20,000 in there, maybe more for a UFC fight at Capital One Arena where the Caps and the Wizards do play games.
correct.
Yeah,
And
but
they haven't had an event in Capital One Arena proper in a very, very long time. So if they were to do it, they'd have to do it on like days' notice, I would think.
Yeah, but you have to keep in mind. You need to keep in mind also they weren't planning to have a bunch of fans at this event anyway.
Correct.
So even if they go and play, whether it's at the Capitals Arena or they find almost like what Tom would say, like an Apex type size arena.
I mean, I could
in
see like maybe like a college campus arena, maybe that might be dormant over the course of a summer, perhaps, if worst comes to worst.
The biggest headache you're running into is the security factor. That is the biggest problem. It's not the event. It's not the fighters. It's not the situation of TV or streaming. It's President Trump making it to the event. That is the biggest problem. And we're going to talk about that in another event, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But it's the security detail which is causing the problem. The weather, and I jokingly said this to Zain before the show. Oh, why did the event get canceled? Oh, inclement weather. Zain, you'll never hear that one again. If it gets postponed due to inclement weather.
You'll never hear it again. It'll be a one-time piece of UFC history that people will never forget. Yeah.
But you know what? This lawsuit is interesting from the standpoint of the timing of it, that we're first finding out about it today. Excuse me. And the only way we found out is because it was registered publicly as a lawsuit inside the court system. That was the only way we were going to find out. Otherwise, we never would have found out there was a lawsuit. And the timing is strange because on top of it, I think that were they doing this because they think the event is bad, or is there political posturing going behind this? And because think of as much as we say, oh, Trump's a sports fan, and I think he was an original investor that helped the UFC get off the ground.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't an original investor. He just happened to let them host a few of their events at the Trump.
At the hotels.
Yeah.
That was it. But that helped bring the UFC on the map when he allowed them to have the events there.
Yes.
But
Yep.
this lawsuit is preposterous in my opinion, because why is it first coming out now that you're having an issue with structure and environmental stuff? If you had this problem, then you would have started this lawsuit months ago when they were first talking about this event.
I was going to say, like, this should have come out when they first made the announcement. And by the way, I did want to actually, and thank you, Nick, for clarifying. Georgetown actually plays at Capital One Arena as well, much like the Capitals and the Wizards. So one of the very few arenas that has a college basketball program playing in the same arena as the other cities' NBA or NHL franchises. But go on, Nick.
Right. So I think this has nothing to do with structure. They're claiming in the ESPN story that it has to do with agriculture and not getting political approval, essentially, is what it said in the article. Interesting note. Trump also, and which, by the way, that I'm glad you brought that up, Tom. Technically, by law, a sitting president is supposed to divest from everything they are in when they enter the White House. Just want to throw that nugget out there, because if you remember, and I'm forgetting his name, the New York mayor who had all the money, Bloomberg. When Bloomberg was mayor, he owns Bloomberg Media, one of the biggest media outlets out there. He had to step down temporarily from running his company because he was not allowed to profit while in the White House. So that's an interesting nugget, by the way, that Tom brings up. But this lawsuit is going nowhere. Right. It's too late, even though I think they've been sitting on this lawsuit for weeks, maybe months. And they wanted to get media attention so that they could somehow take down what's going on with political rhetoric in the White House. This has nothing to do with the event. If this had to do with the event, then the excuse would have been, oh, well, the violence is horrible and it's bad for kids and blah, 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 blah.
I mean, then again, not like President Lincoln didn't wrestle saber-toothed tigers on the South White House lawn during his presidency, for heaven's sakes. Give me a break.
But this lawsuit stands 0% chance of going anywhere. Right. Now, I really shouldn't say zero. I should say like 0.01%. Like 1/10. 1/10%, because nothing is ever 100% and guarantee. But I don't know what they're trying to gain. Now, the only thing that could legally happen is that if an injunction comes down by federal courts that says, all right, we'll put an injunction in place until we legally check this out in the system. But Zan, you'll know this as well as everybody else. If an injunction comes into place,
if worse comes to worse, they'll fly everybody out to the Meta Apex.
That's good. If an injunction heads into place, this event might not happen for months, maybe years. Because if
an injunction happened, I don't think the event would ever happen.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If an injunction happens, the event is screwed. I'm just going to say that now.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say real quick, David, is that, if anybody on the network knows about, like, building a new arena or a stadium and having it get sued over and over and over, it's me in San Diego with the Chargers issues. The one I would compare this to a little bit about lawsuits, the 2-year delay it took for them to finally finish building Petco Park after the Padres went to the World Series, they approved Measure C, and it kept getting sued to the point where they were still building the ballpark, and they stopped operation building Petco Park for over a year while the Padre ownership was fighting at City Hall to fight all these lawsuits. And the same thing has happened with the new sports arena here for the Gulls and indoor lacrosse and indoor hockey and concerts. The project has been under scrutiny for over 6 full years because there was a voter-approved measure back in the 70s that he couldn't build buildings higher than 30 feet tall in the area because of the bay and the airport. And the state Senate is trying their best to put like a, bill shield around the project to, let this thing come to fruition. And real quick, Zan, if that's the case, if that happens, does UFC 329 and 330 get overloaded? If so, are the White House title fights forced to play second fiddle to McGregor in your mind, real quick, before we get to David?
Absolutely. And I think if that were to happen, I think it would even make the fans more because now those cards will be more stacked than ever, and everybody's been complaining about the products being watered down to begin the year thus far, and I think a lot of people would be very excited about it. I would low-key be ecstatic about it because I think it would make those two events subsequently in Vegas and Philly that much bigger. So yeah.
Yeah, but the problem you're going to have is, and I'll say one thing, and then David can take the floor, is you're going to have too many big names. If this gets canceled and they have to move the fights, there's no way you're going to be able to get all these names. And I think Tom just said it too.
Oh, yeah.
Taporia, Gaethje, Pereira going to go along with that.
I think Pereira would be the only one that would say that he doesn't care because Pereira doesn't.
If I'm not mistaken, Gaethje is going to want top dog because isn't this technically his last fight, so to speak?
Well, no, it's his last chance to win a title. It's not necessarily his last fight, but it's one of them for sure.
But he talked about retirement possibly after the White House card.
If he wins, he'll fight one more time, and if he loses, he'll probably retire. That's what he's.
I just think it's too many names because they've been fighting forever to get McGregor back with the 2 fights on the deal that's been left over since the pay-per-view points went away. But there's no way they're going to be able to fit all those names on those 2 cards. And also a lot of those are headlining names, aren't they, Zain?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, when you have Sean O'Malley on the same card as Pereira and Gaethje and Taporia, yeah, I think most of the 7-fight card are major headline names and former champions and stuff like that. Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
Why don't we let David take the floor now so we can
go ahead, David, your thoughts about where we're going here. My goodness gracious, this is insane.
I'm enjoying this. The thing I just thought about this whole thing with this lawsuit and everything else, like the first thing is it's his 80th birthday next week. If they were to postpone his whatever it is, he'll write a diatribe on Truth Social. It will just be endless anger, and it was everything about it. The other thing that I think it's more entertaining about this whole thing is going to be the stuff going on with not only the weather. Supposedly, I don't know if it was Joe Rogan or somebody said that the White House has got a major bug issue.
Yes,
like there's
I've heard that too.
But, yeah, so you're going to have
Dana said that there's a bug issue.
Yeah, so imagine you're fighting and then you got to fight bugs and be freaking just bid and whatever. But humidity stores, it just sounds like it's going to be either like a really interesting card or it's going to be an absolute disaster. It's like one or the other. It's just got the makings of whatever. I think they're going to, by the way, that lawsuit's going to be in and out. It's like you said, perfect timing to do it a week before. I think it's just to tweak the Trump, Donald and everything else with that too. I really do.
I hate to throw a conspiracy theory out here, usually because I'm not the conspiracy person on this network. But Zain, how effed up would it be if the UFC planted attention with a lawsuit against them to make it look like they wanted more attention for this card?
I don't think that's the case. I mean, would there be crazier things? Would it be sort of an on-brand Wild West thing if it were to come out if that's the case? I mean, I guess, but no, I don't think they did all that work just to stoop people and say, "Oh yeah, we're not doing it."
No, I'm not saying conspiracy. No, my point was I'm not saying they would take themselves down. I'm saying could this be the UFC possibly saying, let's make it look like we're getting a lawsuit against us so that we can gain more attention and traction to this event?
No, I don't think so. This event's already gotten enough attention as it is. It started with people not being happy about the card. Then it turned into the narrative of all the, I guess, political angles. And now some people, no names mentioned in the MMA space. And when it was mentioned just to anybody who's commented so far, because he has not said so explicitly, there are more people that I've seen that are more excited for this event to be over with than people who are excited for the actual event itself.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I'm looking forward to this card. And I've become more of a UFC fan now, but I've been looking forward to all the big names on this card. The only name that I think that's missing is Patty. I think he would have been great on this.
He's on the Conor card though, Nick.
I know.
He's the co-main event on the Conor card.
But I'm saying, can you imagine if he was on this card? That would have been the ultimate.
He would have been had he beat Gaethje. He'd be fighting Taporia on this card.
And I think he would have gotten mauled if that was the case too.
That's true.
I'm just intrigued by the thought of there being an actual sporting event, not named Lincoln versus Tigers, on the White House lawn, though, in a week's time. By the way, Tom did say real quick, that was the point I was making. These names on the White House card, particularly with title fight combatants, I don't know if they'll be happy playing second fiddle for a guy who has not fought in 5 years despite his name. And further, and I think Conor has said the only one he'd be willing to play co-main event to is John Jones.
Which will never happen.
Will never happen.
Is he going to be there?
Yeah, he'll definitely be there.
Okay,
yeah,
he's there.
He showed up for the Netflix stuff with Rousey and Carano, so I think he'll show up. But I don't know.
By the way, guys, we have some quick breaking news real quick. It has officially gone final at the 2026 Women's or LPGA U.S. Open at the Riviera in Los Angeles. Nelly Korda surges at the very end to win the tournament over both Charlie Hull and Gabby Lopez by 1 stroke today. Charlie Hull went from being down in the eighth place and finishes 1 shot back, as was Gabby Lopez, who was 5th. So Nelly Korda is the LPGA's U.S. Open champ for 2026, finishing 8 under par from the famed Riviera Country Club on the west side of Los Angeles, California. And real quick, Christy Wilson writes in, I'm more excited for AEW's Forbidden Door pay-per-view than I am for this White House event. I mean, that's understandable, but still, I mean, just the thought, though, of there being some kind of sporting event, though, on the lawn of the White House, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean,
I might tune in for a bit. We'll see.
Well, actually, ironically,
yeah, when you should. I know fighting isn't your thing, but that's one that I think you would regret at least not tuning into a little bit.
Oh yeah,
you got to watch, and Zain knows. Like I started out as like a very novice UFC fan. Like I've watched probably every card for the last 2 or 3 years, probably now. So it's worth it. It's worth
every
watching.
major card. You skip the fight nights sometimes, though.
I don't, because the fight nights don't have enough big names on it for me.
That's fair. Although former champion did fight last night, although that's kind of a rarity that usually happens. But
at least with the number cards, you're guaranteed decent fights. At least, well, or you could end up like the Netflix card and get 3 first-round knockouts in the first 3 fights. But but that wasn't a real card, in my opinion, either.
You don't think it was real? Okay.
I think that was more of a no. That's the wrong sound, Callan. I think of the Rousey Carano card is more like this. More of a circus, and not because of the two of them, just how much drama they caused in that fight, and a 17-second. That's all I got to say. 17 seconds.
The fix was already in. With that, guys, we'll go from all things MMA in that lawsuit and an update from the LPGA U.S. Open to all things NBA Finals as we head back to the Garden for Game 3 on Monday. Here I thought all day it was tonight, but because of the travel day to get from Texas to New York, we had a rare Sunday off day for an NBA Finals game as the Knicks have taken a 2-0 lead over the Spurs heading into Game 3 on Monday from MSG. David Weightman, obviously, this has been a very compelling series, though, with 2 really down-to-the-wire finishes. But just seems like right now, my man, the Knicks are a little bit more hungrier than the Spurs after the first 2 games. David, your overall thoughts on this series so far, and your belief in the Knicks right now is where, and your belief in the Spurs is where right now after 2 games?
San Antonio, they're a really good team, but they just seem like they're not ready in terms of like they need. I feel like they need another body, and they're making little mistakes as a young team. Even like Wemby's been good, then he's not been good. Like it's like that whole thing. New York is just built to win now. I mean, like you said, like they got a veteran squad. Towns has been playing good. Brunson's playing out of his mind. I mean, that's it. They're a deep team. God, I can't imagine if New York wins the title at home, especially if they were to win by Wednesday. Oh, forget Manhattan. That might be gone. I mean, but it's a good series. San Antonio, really, you can see building a future, but they need another body. I just feel like if somebody could score or whatever else. And Wemby's what, 20? I lose track of these guys.
22.
22?
Yeah.
He'll come back. I mean, that's what I said. But I mean, like I said, they win tomorrow. It's a whole new series. I mean, as I say, make little mistakes at the end. And I mean, granted, New York had a good time with shooting, but if they win that game tomorrow, you got a whole new series.
Yeah, Nick, I think so. I think if you win that game on Friday, we're talking about a whole different series now. But now, just like it just feels like the Knicks are inevitable right now after the first two games. And again, like I said on Tuesday on Cranium, the Knick playoff streak right now of, I think it's 14 straight wins now in the playoffs.
13.
That's not or 13. Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at still for this being a team who has battled back from that 2-1 hold though, and then they've been just on a roll though. And I think David said it right though. You can kind of see the contrasting of style though when it comes to the late game clutch moments. The Knicks have stepped up to the occasion in 2 games. The Spurs, you can tell, still have like that young mentality of that we're just now kind of arriving on the scene. And that's obviously, as David said, that the Spurs might be back eventually. But I think though, what we all can agree with though here, if there was ever a time for the Knicks to finally win it, it felt like it had to be this year with the whole, either you win it now or when will you ever win it? I can, in a way, say that about the Padres the last 6 years. When you built this roster with what you have on there, are you going to win it now or are you never going to get there and win it, kind of in a way? And right now it looks like it's going to never for the Padres, or right now that needle's going this way to now for the Knicks. But I think, though, as well, though, Morganson, I think Game 2 probably was the best finish, though, so far of the first 2 games, though. When it comes down to the final possession, though, I think the Spurs could have drawn up something way better than having Wemby settle for a long-range jumper from the elbow that hits the back rim and doesn't go in, and they miss the rebound put back after the final horn sounds. But, Nick, thoughts, so up to the first 2 games, though, as we now head back to MSG on a Monday evening?
I mean, people are going to think I sound ridiculous, but I'm kind of shocked that the Knicks are up 2-0 to start this series in every way, shape, or form. I expected the Spurs to play better. They were the favorites in both games. I was a little surprised that the spread went up after Game 1, after the way the Knicks won.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising. I think it should have been the other way around.
Now, the spread in Game 1 was minus 5.5 for the Spurs. Then it went up to minus 6.5, which I guess makes sense because the Spurs. Well, hear me out. The Spurs really needed to win Game 2 and go back with a split.
Sure.
Or take a split on the road to New York. Losing the first 2, first of all, I'll give you a stat. Any team that goes up 2-0 has never lost the NBA Finals.
Correct.
So the Knicks are up 2-0.
Wait, what was the stat again?
All NBA Finals series, anyone that's up 2-0 has never lost the finals. So if you start the series 2-0, no team has lost the NBA Finals being up 2-0. So,
damn.
So now, do I think the Spurs can play better? Sure. Wemby's 22 years old and he's had to carry the load for this team. What I will say about Game 2 is I thought the officiating was garbage, atrocious.
Wasn't
terrible.
Tony Brothers the head referee too?
He was. And what's his name was Game 1.
Your boy Scott Foster was in Game 1.
They put 2 of the worst. They put 2 of the worst officials in the NBA in Game 1 and Game 2 of the NBA Finals. But I thought I could count on both hands the amount of calls that were missed on Wemby getting smacked around in the paint, a few times on shooting fouls. And I'll say the same thing for the Knicks. There was atrocious calls that were not made when the Knicks were going to the basket either. First of all, that call on Josh Hart in Game 2 that they called a hostile act and a flagrant foul, I get it. Like, he grabbed his leg. I forgot who it was. I think it was Castle's leg. And right. I could have seen that being like a common foul if they wanted to call it, or a technical foul. I don't know about a flagrant foul. I think they jumped a little bit to conclusion on that one. But Knicks fans are not going to like what I have to say here. But the Spurs completely choked Game 2 in every way, shape, or form. They should have won Game 2. They were up, and they just completely blew it away. And then they didn't play defense. And they didn't play defense in the fourth quarter. The Knicks just ran away. Cat right now is the MVP of the series. He is the best player on the floor. Right? For both teams combined, he is the best player on the floor. Sorry, Spurs fans, it's not Wemby. Even though Wemby's having a great series and he's averaging 25, 27 plus to 9 rebounds and 3 blocks a game. For the first time I'm saying this, Cat is outplaying Wemby this series. And I don't like saying that because I'm a Net fan and I don't want to see the Knicks win shit. But at the same time, I have to be fair as an NBA fan at the same time and say, look, the Knicks are playing better basketball. Am I going to say that they dominated game 1 and game 2? No, they did not dominate like some Knicks fans on here on our network or Knicks fans who have been insufferable going into this NBA Finals, saying that they were going to dominate the Spurs, and now they're saying they're going to sweep the Spurs, which I still don't think is going to happen. I think the Spurs will win it. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, like to David's point, though, if they do somehow sweep, I would stay as far away from downtown Manhattan as possible.
I'm in New York. I worked in that area when I used to work at the radio station. Before they moved it, my WABC was on the 17th floor, right above Penn Station into Penn Plaza. So my office used to be there. So I used to, whenever the Knicks were good in that, because they were for a year or two in that stretch, I couldn't walk around the city. That's how bad it was. Now that they're in the finals, forget it. Monday is going to be a shit show getting around New York.
Oh.
And adding Trump on top of it, forget it.
Yeah. By the way, a quick update, because I felt like there was something on. I was just checking it. 5 teams have come back and won the title, being down 2-0. 69 Celtics, the 77 Blazers, the 2006 Miami Heat team, 2016 Cavs, and the 21 Bucks.
Yeah, that is right. Milwaukee was down 2 games to none. They came back and won 4 in a row.
And they won 4 in a row. I looked up the Heat one when they played the Mavericks. Dallas won the first 2. That was the Shaq, Dwayne Wade team. And then they came back and won 4 straight.
I don't know why they gave that stat then. Unless, you know what it was? That they stole the road games up 2-0. I think that's what it was.
Right.
I think that's what it was. That they stole 2 road games to begin the series.
Yeah. But I was going to say, getting back to money, imagine the only thing that probably saved Manhattan a little is that they have barred the what do you call it, outside.
All the watch parties have been
because
the
service.
It's the exact party right outside MSG,
right?
Which is the one like right where the big scoreboard is, right outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the fans. Let me say that number one, because and by the way, this has James Dolan's fat fingers all over it because he invited Trump to Madison Square Garden for Game 3. This has nothing to do with the president forcing himself to Game 3. James Dolan invited him because they're pals.
Right.
So, yeah,
we
good
do
job.
A lot of business.
We do a lot of business together. But no, I feel bad for the fans because look, that area every single game so far has been unbelievable for the fans.
Oh.
And now you're going to say, screw you, because we have to bring the Secret Service in to get the president in, and now it's going to take 2 hours instead of
yeah. I read that press release while I was covering the North American Roller Hockey Championship Escondido Regional at Kit Carson Park yesterday, and I saw that release go, and I'm reading the whole thing like, you should be here 2 to 3 hours before the game even starts to beat the lines because it's going to be like going through airport security. Like,
it is.
Do I have to have a real ID to get into the arena as well, too? Do I have to pay $45 to get that to be able to go inside to watch the game? And plus that, the ticket prices, too, are like well over $15,000 to $20,000 now. It's insanity.
They're saying it's the most expensive sporting event, or at least one of them on record.
So just to back that point that Zain is saying, the lowest ticket right now is $10,000 to get inside Madison Square Garden. And one of the highest I saw so far was 25,000 down.
What? Oh no! I saw one on the floor. I posted whatever it was 180,000.
Okay, so what? I want to refer to a point you're making on that too. Yeah. So the seats that like where Stiller, Fat Joe, Chalamet, and Kylie Jenner, I saw that some of those seats are going for $250,000.
Yeah. No, Zain, imagine this. No, Zain, imagine this.
Wow.
Knicks win tomorrow night. Game 4 at the Garden when they have a chance to win the title. Those same seats.
It's going to double.
400K.
I think it's going to double. I think if
$500,000.
If that's a clinching game, it might double, maybe triple the value of those seats. And if I was if I was someone who had a ticket to that game, I would sell my seat and go invest that money for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Oh my God. Like, yes.
And I don't want to hear these dumb excuses from Dan Gilbert from Cleveland who basically said if you sell your courtside seats, you're banned from ever having a courtside seat again. Screw off, Dan Gilbert. If I want to sell my seat and I want to make $100,000 profit off my ticket, I will.
Right. If Chalamet and Kylie Jenner over they want to buy my seat at Cleveland courtside. And meanwhile, by the way, if you notice, I saw it today too, talking about like they're investing. They're now auctioning off the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce seats.
They are.
That they sat courtside.
Because they sat on them, so they're authentic.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, you can get to Team USA's first game for the World Cup on Friday versus Paraguay from Los Angeles Stadium in Inglewood for $895.
Hey, that's cheap compared to the NBA Finals.
At one point, it was over $2,000 to go to Game 1 of the World Cup for Team USA at LA Stadium.
So just for the game purposes, because we're talking about that too, I looked up the line for tomorrow. This is current right now on DraftKings. The Knicks are a 2.5-point favorite tomorrow.
Right.
So that kind of makes sense. That kind of tracks because they've won both games. So I think the Spurs, believe it or not, in a reverse type of way, I think the Spurs getting away from home might actually be in their favor.
A little bit. And the other thing...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the one thing the Spurs also have to do, don't talk trash to Jalen Brunson. Like, DeAndre Fox tried it. He doesn't talk back. If he knows, he just, like, stared at him like, okay, and they just kept on moving. Like, I don't think you could shake Jalen Brunson.
Don't poke the bear, damn it.
Yeah, but at the same time, and Zan, you could back me up because he's from Chicago and he knows all about Jalen Brunson, is Jalen Brunson's not a good guy from time to time.
No, he's not. He's not personable. He's very much into himself. He's a good player, but even going back to high school, apparently, according to stories that are well within the bowels of, I guess, the city, he was not the I guess the most approachable human in the world. I don't know him at all, but stories from around his area are very troubling in the sense that he wasn't the most humble guy. Let's say that, like courtesy things, like holding the door open for people and stuff like that.
The only thing I would say to that, he was also a teenager. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying he was also a teenager. Maybe he's also changed a little bit, from college. I'm saying, But
for sure.
Yeah.
But
I'm not saying, I'm saying.
What I will say, though, for this series, I'll give the Knicks credit, small amount of credit, because they've won most of these two games with Jalen Brunson shooting like trash in both games.
Yes.
And even though we have two guys on this network who are obsessive Knicks fans who tell me that Jalen Brunson was the best player on the floor both games, when that clearly was not the case whatsoever. Wemby had a better game. He just had no help otherwise to help him win the game. Wemby had to do everything. He had to block shots. He had to shoot threes. He had to make passes. And also it doesn't help that his guys are not hitting threes from the corner when he's passing out to the open shooter. But Jalen Brunson shot 12 of 31 in game one. And everyone's saying because he scored 30 points, that made him the best player on the floor in game one.
Yeah, game two, he shot 7 of 25. I mean, like you said, the Knicks as a team are shooting 50% compared to 44. But, yeah, I mean, they're also they're getting balanced scoring. Their stars, the exception of Josh Hart, all had double figures. Like, Josh Hart only had 4 shots in the game. But, yeah, I mean, but they also were deep. What do you call it? Shamet 12. Right. Robinson's at 7. But, yeah, Brunson's not shot well at all.
And I was gonna say though, game one though for Josh Hart, he didn't shoot the ball well, but how about 14 rebounds though? So trying to find a way to put a stamp of approval on the game elsewhere than just shooting the ball.
Right. I mean, what I will say also is, if it wasn't for Landry Shamet in this series, I don't think the Knicks are in this series.
Right.
To be honest with you, I think that Landry Shamet has hit some incredible 3-point shots in this final. Already. You want to say Deuce McBride has had an incredible series too? The role players are the reason the Knicks are winning this series. It has nothing to do with Jalen Brunson. You want to say Cat is having an MVP series? That's fine. But what is that dumb say? One player does not make a series make, as one of our former hosts used to say on this network. But Cat, if you want to say Cat's the MVP, fine. I have no problem with that. But for everybody else, like, the role players are the reason the Knicks are winning this series. Jalen Brunson has done nothing. Nothing. And he scored 30 points on 31 shots. Seriously.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. What do I think is going to happen the rest of this series? I think the Spurs will win at least one in MSG. I think.
Like I said, you have a chance to win the bar.
I mean, and maybe that logic might be, dumb to some people out there, but maybe getting away, though, from the home crowd, though, going from San Antonio now to the Garden of all places for games 3 and 4. But, maybe it does, in a way, take some of the pressure off of the Spurs, though, going into game 3. But, Zain, real quick, your thoughts on how the series has shaked out so far between the Knicks and the Spurs?
Zain.
Go ahead, Zain.
He's mic's off.
What was your question? I'm sorry.
Just your thoughts on how you think that this series has shaked out so far with the Knicks going up 2-0.
I mean, it's been overall an exciting series. What sucks, though, is from a competitive standpoint, you would think with the way that the Spurs were playing in game 2 the other night that they would have won, and it was almost like it was a missed opportunity. And, I feel like if a few possessions go San Antonio's way, maybe it's 1-1, but it is what it is, and now they're going to have to scrape a game or 2 on the road, and they want to go into a potential game 5 knowing that they have a chance. They cannot afford whatsoever with how youthful they are to go down 3-0 and have any sort of a pulse. So I think game 3 is a must-win.
I think one more stat I just want to point out, too, is they're the second youngest roster in NBA Finals history behind the Trailblazers. In NBA history. Right. I think the Trailblazers were like 25.03 average, and the Spurs are 25.06.
Right.
Okay, so they are one of the youngest rosters in NBA history. You got to give them a little slack that some of these guys are 21, 22 years old on this roster playing their first NBA Finals. They're going to make mistakes.
Right.
As was evident with how game 2 came to the conclusion with, some turnovers. As I said, maybe Mitch Johnson going to draw up a better play perhaps to end the game in game 2. But again, who really knows?
So one that really showed the rookie inexperience when Wemby got that rebound and didn't call a timeout directly at the end of the game, throws the ball. I think it hits Castle in the back and goes out of bounds and gives the ball back to the Knicks. That's rookie inexperience.
Correct.
Why didn't Mitch Johnson just call a timeout as soon as the rebound was made?
What are you waiting for, man? And that's where I think, who would have thunk I'd be, in a way saying it, though, but coaching. And here I praised Mitch Johnson pretty heavily leading into the finals last Tuesday. But it's my guy, Mike Brown, though, who's got his team up 2-0, which, by the way, quick side before we get to Nick for a quick commercial break. I wrote a Substack article leading into game 1 about the University of San Diego's men's basketball program. And not the biggest, mid-major school out there, but it's had a massive tree of coaches go to the NBA involving Mike Brown, Eric Musselman, so many of them. Hank Egan, of course, was a longtime assistant for Greg Popovich in San Antonio, and how both of these organizations in very interesting capacities have given a lot of these USD basketball alumni a shot to coach with either New York or the Spurs. That story wound up being the lead story on the USD Toreros Athletic website the following day, because the word got around from former employees of the school, current employees, a bunch of my friends. So wanted to give a shout out to Anderson, Max, and Zonder for sharing my written content on the USD website concerning all things USD men's basketball with, at least 8 different coaches who have been in the NBA, from Musselman to James Borrego to obviously Coach Egan to Mike Brown, you name it. So very grateful for that opportunity to write that on my own terms, though, but have it still go out on the USD Athletics website. With that, though, Nick, I know we've got a big show debuting this week, and I can't wait to get it started.
Yeah, so Empty the Pinch debuts Wednesday, June 10th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. The world has arrived for the 39-day global spectacle that is the FIFA World Cup, and ETB has you covered with the best coverage of the beautiful game. As Callan McClurg and Trevor Williams empty the pitch with in-depth coverage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Kickoff is coming on June 10th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, followed by Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time, following every U.S. men's national team match for a post-match reaction show starting on June 12th. Only on the Empty the Bench Network. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, to find out more. Follow the social media channels on Twitter and Instagram at Empty the Pitch. We were able to secure those for a change. And Callan's going to be busy. He's going to be heading to which practice again?
We're going to go catch the New Zealand national team's practice Wednesday morning at about 10:45 a.m. Pacific till about roughly, I think, 12:15, 12:30, basically, before they have a about hour-long, or at least half an hour-long post-training session meet and greet with the team. We'll hopefully try to talk to some of the players. We'll see. We're going to try to mainly do more shots of their practice, talk to some fans, hopefully, that are going to be rooting for the Kiwis come their group stage first game, their first group stage match, I should say. They're in a separate group from Team USA, but they're here, though, training in San Diego, as is the Swiss national team, who is up further north from where I live at the Jewish Academy. They're getting ready for their own group stage as well. So a couple of nations are, in fact, here in town for their World Cup base camps here in Southern California, here in San Diego. So looking forward to it, to being there on Wednesday morning.
Also, after every U.S. men's national team, we will be doing live streams like we've been doing for the NBA Finals. Ben actually might be doing a Stanley Cup post show for Tuesday's game. So we are really jumping aboard the live stream track. We've done well with them. So after every U.S. men's national team, at least Callan will be there after the final buzzers, as they say.
Yeah, we may have to put up the substitution board and put David in for Trevor maybe on a couple of these. We'll see.
As long as they're not late.
Yeah,
because David and I are on the East Coast part of things, and some of those games are at 9.
And all three of the USA games are on the West Coast, which benefits me, but doesn't benefit the rest of the network, which doesn't help the cause.
No, but so you'll get plenty of post-game coverage. FIFA World Cup on social media is wild. The amount of social media that goes around for it. When you introduce 48 countries this year that are going to be all over social media, it's going to be a wild time. So just make sure you tune into Empty the Pitch for the live streams and the Saturday show, Empty the Pitch, on Saturday mornings, where Trevor usually does his normal show for the college basketball and college football seasons. So make sure you tune into Empty the Pitch.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it again. We will hopefully be on site for a couple of watch parties that are being held here on the beachfront in San Diego. Trying to work out some logistics right now with that, but we've got 3 of them planned right now for Argentina, Algeria, Mexico, South Korea, and England, Ghana for 3 games down at the Fitz Social Club right by the famed Giant Dipper roller coaster here in San Diego. So we're going to be on site for a couple of these events. They will not, though, those 3, though, by the way, won't interfere with our live show schedule. We will, though, have a couple of conflicts, though, mainly on June 19th when Team USA plays Australia at noon Pacific time. It's going to be up against the clock, though, with UW and Guru. So we're trying to work some of those hurdles out, though, as the week does prolong and as the day goes on here. But that's where things stand for ETP starting this Wednesday, and then a full opening show to recap the first 2 days of a tournament, though, especially with Mexico playing South Africa in match 1 on June 11th. With that, guys, small things basketball to all things Stanley Cup Finals. What in the world happened last night on Saturday? It went from being a party in Vegas to a near funeral to a reprieve for the Vegas Golden Knights, who blew a 4-0 lead in Game 2. And then saw the Hurricanes come all the way back to tie the game until Shea Theodore put in a rebound putback jam goal off the skate of fill-in goaltender Brandon Bussey as the Knights grab Game 3 from T-Mobile Arena, 5-4 the final. But David Weightman, this was certainly a game that I don't think anyone saw happening, with Vegas going on top 4-0 in the second period. Mitch Marner has another hat trick. You're thinking this game's over after 40 minutes. Then something changes, though, when Rod Brindamore puts in the backup goalie in Brandon Bussey, stops a Marner penalty shot that I think could have really been the dagger for VGK. And then Carolina puts 3 behind Carter Hart in 39 seconds. They tie the game with the goalie pulled in a power play for a delay of game penalty with about a minute 20 left. But then it's in a game, though, David, with so many ups and downs. Let's also recount too. There were 2 goals in the first period overturned by 2 challenges by Coach Brindamore for an offside play and then for goalie interference that could have really, I think, put this game way out of reach for Carolina. It could have been 6-0 at one point if that doesn't happen. But, man, David, we actually set up a TV at the tournament I was covering yesterday. We got everybody who's not playing coming to watch the game with us. And, it's like, oh, man, it's 4-0. And then bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. All of a sudden it's 4-3 and the whole rink is losing their minds. Then the Canes tie the game at 4 and everyone blows up, and then you come back and you see the double OT goal for Shea Theodore, who I actually predicted would get the game winner, by the way. He's a former Gull and Duck, so I picked him for the winner.
Right.
And it was a very much, though, David, a very, unfortunate break for the Canes, who had played so well to get back into the game and tie it up, force double OT. But it's a shot, though, and again, a very much, purpose play, though. A D-man rockets a shot off the boards. It takes a crazy carom off of it, and it hits the skate of Bussy and goes into the net, though, to win the game for the Knights, though. But, David, twists and turns left and right. My goodness, what a night it was, though, from T-Mobile on Saturday. But your thoughts on this whole series, man, which I think, though, I think Steve Levy said this might be the highest scoring cup final that we're going to see, though, probably in a long, long, long time.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I think of when I see this now, after 2-1 is going to be who starts for Carolina on Tuesday.
Oh.
Anderson's a really good goalie, but I don't know up here if he's taxed with the combination of the amount of games he's played, his agent dying, Claude Lemieux. You don't know if it's just that. I mean, maybe he's just hit a funk right now. Whatever. It's like, granted, Mitch Marner's going on another. I mean, he's playing another world. Like I said, I think Carolina's got to win the next two. Even if they win Game 4, you got to win. You got to go. You're going home for Game 5. You got to win home in Raleigh. If you don't, you had to go back to Game 6 with Vegas. I'd say if it gets to that point. It's been a really good series. They're both not surprised. Both are in the finals. I thought maybe Colorado would get in, but then Colorado decided to take a nap, and Vegas killed them in 4 straight. So, Carolina's just got to figure out. I think they're overall the road fine. Their power play's been a little bit crappy, but overall it's right now. It's just the focus will be is Anderson, but Brendan Moore might just put him back in, just saying like we're going to go back to him. But who knows? But Bussy already said like I'm ready to go Game 4 if they need me. I'm ready to go.
I'll tell you what, David, for a guy who hadn't played in 2 months, man, he really did not miss a beat, because I think there was a bit of a goalie controversy a little bit when it came down to, do you start Freddie Anderson or do you go, though, with Bussy? And Brandon Bussy said, if the team needs me to fill in, if there's a bad night, I'll be ready to go. And he was locked in until that, unfortunate bounce took place, though, for the Theodore goal to win the game for VGK.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's just like you said, it's going to be an interesting decision that Rod's going to have. I guess he'll announce it tomorrow morning about who's starting Game 4.
By the way, talk about a dynamite stat real quick. Shout out to DJ Kwan. Fun fact, the Spurs have not beaten the Knicks at the Garden since 2019, and he is correct. 111-104, the week of Thanksgiving Day, 2019. So the Spurs have certainly trying to exercise some demons from that Garden up in New York City, but we'll see where things go. But Zain, how about your thoughts here? I mean, like I said, though, you feel like this game's over when it's 4-0 Vegas. That crowd is just, they're going bananas in there. 4-0, and then though, Carolina has 3 straight goals in 39 seconds, and the life just seems to be, out of the building, especially when they tie the game with the goalie pulled on the power play, 4-4 the game is, and it felt like that crowd was on pins and needles for the whole overtime period until they went to double OT. They get the bounce off the, for the goal, though, that wins the game for them. But I'll tell you what, that would have been, I think, and David might be able to back me up, that may have been a monumental collapse, though, for a cup final game for a team to have that big of a lead, though, then choke it away. But Zain, thoughts on Game 3, but also this whole series, man, with so much high-scoring offense here between these two teams.
Yeah, as someone who's watched his team win the Stanley Cup 3 separate times in a 5-year period, I don't think I've ever seen the Stanley Cup Final as exciting so far as this one. You look at the game last night, you're thinking it's over, it's 4-0. They scored the first goal, you're like, okay, it's 1 goal. Then they scored the second one, you're like, oh, could they actually do this? Then they scored the third one, and then eventually later on in the third period, they tie it. And you're like, this series just can't seem to have a ceiling. It's almost like the bar continues to get raised in every single one of these games. And it seems that Christie is all in on the Golden Knights. I can't blame her. They've been a wonderful story.
Well, she's a Knights fan.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, that's cool too for her because she's a displaced fan given where she lives. But nonetheless, though, it's been a phenomenal series. It's gotten more unpredictable in almost every single game to where you don't know what's going to happen on a nightly basis. And I was even texting one of my friends who's a pretty big hockey fan. I would say his team was nowhere near postseason contention this year. But even I texted him, I'm like, hey, it looks like no lead is safe in the Stanley Cup Final, at least so far. And that was the case. But you would think, though, just on the surface, like looking at that game last night, and I'm sure a lot of people felt this way, when Marner got the hat trick, you would think, okay, it's time to go to bed. And to be honest with you, I was one of those people. I started to doze off a little bit.
My dad said the same thing. He changed the channel.
Yeah, then all of a sudden, I was looking at social media, and all of a sudden the Golden Knights were trending, and I'm like, oh, okay. So sure enough, I turned it on. So I was lucky enough to watch it from 4-1 onward, and I saw pretty much the entire sequence. And this is just one of those things, man. I mean, you could be the most casual hockey fan in the world, and to me, nothing in sports in the springtime to me beats when the Stanley Cup Final is as good as something like this series is. So I have no idea what to expect in Game 4, but it's must-see TV. And I know we have Knicks fans here, but I would much rather, if you were to ask me what series would you finish right now, if you had one choice, I'd rather finish the hockey series over the NBA one, but it's just me in a nutshell. And overall, it's been really exciting. So
the other thing also that's coming up too is if Anderson starts the next game, it'll be 17 in a row.
Oh, man.
So do you wonder if he's like fatigued stuff? Because maybe this extra day will help him, but everybody's saying the same thing. Rod Brind'Amour's has got a really tough decision come tomorrow. Do you go with the loyalty thing with Frederick, or do you say, we're going to put Busey in the start? If he struggles, then we'll pull you back out. But I just think it's a tough call for Brind'Amour. What to do?
Yeah, I mean, because you don't want to fall behind the 8 ball further here, because it's one thing though that you've got to win in Vegas, and that's already a Herculean task as is with how that crowd is, how that city is when it comes to how the Knights have been received for the last 9 years, how they're led though by Tortorella as their head coach though, and the firepower that they do possess though with with all their forward lines and even their defensive pairings. By the way, shout out real quick to Braden McNabb, by the way, who took that puck to the face in Game 2, came back, shattered nose, cuts across the lips though. Full cage on, though, and looked like he didn't miss a beat. I think he played David, he played like 48 minutes of that
Something
game.
Like that, yeah. He got.
I think he set some kind of record for time on ice or something pretty damn close to it.
Yeah, something. I didn't look at the stats, but he had over. I think he said it was about 30 stitches put into his face.
I would say hockey players are far more. What would you say? Braver, tougher than most athletes when it comes to injuries.
I mean, I've seen players get pucks to the mouth and lose 8-9 teeth, whatever it is, and then they don't miss a shift, or they'll be down the pair and they're right back in. Yeah,
I was going to say Jack Hughes in the gold medal game for Team USA over in Italy.
Yes, yes.
But just from a standpoint for a second, though, as probably the non-hockey-ish fan here, that game was.
Nick, you're not just a non-hockey fan. In the months that I've been on with you for the show that we do together, I don't think we've spoken about hockey once.
Well, because I can't talk it like the rest of you guys can. But I've watched every single game of the Stanley Cup. For the most part. I've sat. I've literally. I asked Callan. I've sat here and I've watched every game of the Stanley Cup. That game was fun.
He almost watched every Ducks playoff game with me when we'd be up doing stuff for the network.
Yeah. So you know what? First of all, hands down, from an NBA nerd sitting here, I would take this Stanley Cup series far and above what's going on at the NBA Finals right now.
Right.
From college football, college basketball, and UFC nerd over here, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree.
The NBA Finals has not been entertaining. And people are going to say, but Nick, who cares about entertaining? Well, if you're not going to have a competitive game, you're not going to get people to sit and watch. I know they broke numbers in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, but that was a highly anticipated game that went back and forth, that Wemby had to put up like 40 points. And just
by the way, if you guys watched any of ETBS during the Western Conference Finals, we said every single week that was the de facto NBA Finals. And we were right.
I was on top of that for about a month, I would say, at least. I had said that was going to be the best series of, and this was before any playoff game started in this playoffs this year, I said OKC San Antonio is going to be the de facto NBA Finals. How do you beat it? And it's kind of coming true right now because the Knicks are embarrassing the Spurs right now, which no one expected. And you know what? This hockey series has been way more fun. Hey, an overtime game in the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, isn't it true?
Double
time.
Now, isn't it true they don't do shootouts in the?
No, they
don't.
play
Thank God
continuous
they don't.
periods until someone wins the game.
I will tell you, as a non-hockey fan, my favorite rule that they don't do shootouts, because that would just totally water down like a tough game being played, and then you lose via shootout.
Yeah.
I wish they would go old school back in the regular season. That would make me watch more hockey games, actually, if they removed the shootout from the games and they had to play through the overtime until somebody won. Because shootouts are just, I don't know, like it's not the game to me. You're not playing hit by hit hockey. Would you say a shootout is basically a game of chance?
Nick, are you trying to insinuate that shootouts in hockey feel like soccer a little bit when it's not supposed to be that way?
Yeah, because at that point, a shootout is a game of luck and a game of chance. The goalie goes one way, the shooter goes the other way, and if it goes in, it goes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then you keep going until someone puts the puck or the ball in the net.
Just checked it, by the way. McNabb played 36 minutes last night, second most behind Theodore, who played 39 last night.
And Theodore had the game winner for VGK last night, too.
And
yes,
I would have been severely frustrated last night if that game ended in a shootout. I would have. Because they played so damn hard last night, both sides. They looked like they were ready to kill over from all the skating.
Oh, yeah.
Because people forget how hard it is to skate and to be an athlete on skates. It's hard.
I mean, 20 years ago, because this is a Philly thing, they played 5 overtimes in a playoff game against the Penguins. It was over at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's what I said. Intermissions, they were calling pizza places to get pizza there because they needed carbs in their body. Like, literally, it was that nuts.
To take that a step further, the Mighty Ducks beating Dallas in the 0-3 second round. They went 5 overtimes until Peter Sikora finally won the game. There's hardly anybody left at American Airlines Center because it was like 1 a.m. Central Time. People had to be at work the following day.
The only thing that confuses me, and this is because this is the non-hockey fan talking to me, is all the intermissions, like the constant stop, period, intermission. I don't love that either. I wish they would make it a little more like the other sports where you play a half and then you take a
30 and 30 type.
Yeah,
you play 30 minutes, then take a halftime. And okay.
Because to me it's just like I feel like it's almost like almost made for TV. Hockey product is made, and it's weird because I never would have said that years ago. But believe it or not, the built-in intermissions are great for TV because they can have commercials and stuff in there.
You have to do all the maintenance on the ice too because of how chewed up it gets over the course of a whole period. That's why there's the 3 breaks in between, in the middle of each period, and then they have the full intermission to do the Zamboni sweep.
So my question is, why don't they do that in any other sport then? When a court gets all chewed up?
I mean, they do it at halftime.
No, but I'm saying is they don't do that in any other sport. You don't see them stopping for like a full-on intermission to fix the ice. And now I know hockey is a more fully aggressive sport, so it makes sense that they need a break every so often because it's an aggressive sport.
They also do somewhat clean the ice during TV timeouts.
Right.
Like they'll bring out like 10 people who have shovels and push the ice. Bring out
the
like trash cans.
Yeah. The excess, the top layer, right?
Yeah,
the top layer, exactly.
The only thing I would change also, I think McDonough's awful. I don't think he's good on any like college football.
Great at baseball.
Great at baseball. Please take him off for hockey, please. Like,
come on, Levy. Come on, Bucci.
No, I want Kenny Albert.
Whenever TNT when TNT gets the rights for the Cup Final next year, he'll be there.
Yeah, like you said, there's not many options on the ABC side because it's like, I mean, the one guy who was great was Gary Thorne. He was great.
Yes.
I think he retired. Retired. Yeah,
he retired. I mean, but it's tough. It's like, who are your options? Butcher Cross? I don't even know.
He's great. Yeah, I would take him.
They have another guy. I think he does college. I'm bad if he does for ESPN. I want to say his name's like Wertheiser or something like that. He's
Bob
Oh,
Wischusen.
yeah. Wischusen. Bob Wischusen. He does the
Yeah.
Jets for the radio.
yeah,
I love him. He's great.
yeah.
Rocky
I mean,
Bernstein.
Oh,
Yeah,
Rocky
but like,
Bernstein. Yeah.
Sean McDonough's okay. I mean, like I said, it is what it is. And then like even
It's not his first sport, though.
Yeah.
No, but he's done it before. I mean, whatever, that whole thing. The analyst is always interesting too, because it's like that's for ESPN, ABC. Like Messier's not bad. Subban, it's just like you don't know what. I mean, you always.
I can't stand him. Subban is the, and also all the obnoxious outfits.
I was going to say because of what he wears on air.
But you know what? Like
his pink pajamas.
I wish, and also another thing, I don't like that they copy that stupid NBA bench thing that they do.
Oh yeah, the bench with Ray Ferraro being in between the benches. Yeah, he not up in the booth.
It doesn't work for the NBA. It's not going to work for the NHL. I don't
in
love
between
it.
the glass.
I don't. They sit the analyst right down in the middle of the two. How can you have chemistry with your color analyst if they're not sitting near you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the in between the bench thing if they had a third person up there, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird it was weird though, David, that they had Eric Johnson, who was really, I think, becoming really great analyst, but he was only on the pregame and postgame coverage and wasn't the third man in the booth.
The interesting thing about that is they just signed him at ESPN, so now he's going to be at the rest of the Stanley Cup Finals, which is kind of odd because they were already 2 games in already. But
he was also, I think he's involved with also like horses or something too. I mean, I know he does that stuff too, and probably he's on vacation. But he's actually really good. Like that's what I would have is if it was me this year, Ferraro or Johnson up with Sean McDonough, and then have somebody down below. That would be me. To me, it would make sense.
You know who's been great too? I think Messier has been great with Levy. Even though I could tolerate Subban to a little bit, but like I don't know. And then they brought back that stupid call booth. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, the chirp line, yes.
The chirp line that ESPN was doing.
I love it.
But I don't know. But as a non-hockey fan, I would take the Stanley Cup.
No,
right
I'll tell you one thing I would get rid of, and ESPN is known for that. I absolutely hate it. Is bringing in Dave Jackson, whoever that NHL.
Oh, the rules analyst, yes.
Oh.
That's every sport that we're having an issue with that.
But that one especially, he was really bad last. I mean, everybody on social media was just goofing on him.
Well, let me ask a question. So we saw, Callan and I were talking about this the other night, the whole thing about the goalie interferences that we've seen multiple times.
Right.
The first one, they said it was, right? So they didn't count the goal. The second one, they said what? I can't remember now, but it was a huge thing.
Yeah, I think it was the play where Ivan Barbashev swiped at Freddie Anderson's glove when the puck was still not covered, but the referee blew the play dead in game 2. Then last night, I think we had Eichel or Stone ram Anderson in the head before they put a puck into the net, and they challenged it for goalie interference, and it was no goal.
Got it. Okay.
And Tortorella had no problem with those calls. He had a big problem with the game 2 one.
Yeah. Well, I think he didn't challenge because he knew he lost the prior game, so he didn't want to lose the challenge again.
And then the first goal was taken off because I think Hurdle was offsides by like a few centimeters across the line before the puck was ever across the blue line.
But you know what's crazy about that game? 4-0. You think that game is over? Like there's no shot. Then you see 4 straight goals scored from the Canes, and you're like
3 goals in 39 seconds too.
That's like Reggie Miller-esque. Like when the Knicks are playing the Spurs, let me just shoot 3 threes in 9 seconds. And
if Vegas would have lost that game, I was like, to me, the series would have been over.
I think
so. That would have crushed their morale to be able to be up by 4 at home with that crowd behind you, and then you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to switch gears for 1 second, especially because we have Mr. Chicago here. I want to ask him about other news that happened today.
Oh.
So, Zan, you heard about Stacey King, right?
Yeah, I did.
Who unfortunately passed away. I think he was 51 years old,
58.
Or 58. It's still too young, regardless. Yes. Zan, what do you know about Stacey King?
Meaning like his career or how he
just like his career. Like I'm sure you've watched a ton of games of Stacey King.
Oh yeah. I mean Stacey King was a vocal part of my childhood because he used to do the games with Neil Funk. So everybody who grew up around here knew who Stacey King was, and he was a fixture, man. He was a fixture of every major Bulls memory that I can recall as a 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And he was a major soundtrack, and people have said it all day today on social media. He made the Bulls watchable when they were not watchable. He just had this colorful energy about him, always super gracious with the fans. I never got a chance to meet him. I got to meet the Bulls radio crew. I never got a chance to meet him, but he was always someone that just seemed to care a lot about the game, was super open to calling out the Bulls when the Bulls weren't doing well. But you could just tell that the passion and the understanding of what the fan wanted was what set him apart. And it's obviously extremely tragic. And I didn't think it was real at first, but it's horrible. Now it's coming out how he passed away, which is even more sad. So the Bulls games will not be the same come October. I can tell you that for sure.
So the reason I brought it up is because R.I.P. Stacey King is trending right now on Twitter because at Wrigley Field they did a full honorary message moment of silence for him. And by the way, if we play our cards right, we might have some Chicago Bulls history on Press Row, hopefully soon.
Oh wow, okay.
Well, who was it? I mean, we could tease it a little because we're in the process of.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the process of finalizing the interview, but also it's a good teaser for a upcoming Benchmarks episode eventually. That I got to actually meet Tommy Edwards, the original Bulls PA announcer back in the 70s and 80s, to talk about how he found the Alan Parsons Project song that led to where every team has taken their pregame introductions and their in-game entertainment. And for those that are wondering, Nick and I are trying to close the deal right now to bring on Ray Clay, the voice of the Chicago Bulls' 6th title dynasty, onto Press Row sometime in the future. Cool. Ray and I have been connected on LinkedIn for a while. As I said, I got to meet Tommy Edwards a few years ago when he was in Burbank or in Hollywood. They were adding the NBA PA guys into the video game at that time. So a bunch of them that me and fellow colleagues knew down here would come out, record their stuff. So I have a picture of me, 2 of my colleagues, Tommy Edwards and Sean Pebbles of the Cavaliers, because Sean said, I have a special guest coming to dinner with us. And we're all thinking it's Lawrence Tanter of the Lakers, but it was Tommy Edwards instead. So we got to talk to Tommy about, how he thought of the whole reviving NBA introductions, about playing On the Run by Pink Floyd for the visiting team, and how the Alan Parsons Project came to being what it was, and how the Bulls still use that song even to this day, 30, 35 years later. So, but we will be getting a chance to hopefully talk to the incomparable Ray Clay in sometime later this month on Press Row.
And speaking of Press Row, since we're talking about it already, this week's episode of Press Row is going to be, what would you call it? Fireworks? A little, we have 2 guests coming up on Press Row this week. And Zain, you'll actually know, well, one of them, but the other one you're going to know well, too, because it's from the WNBA also. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you saw the controversy with the Indiana Fever.
I did.
So Scott Agnes, the guy who had his credential taken away by the Indiana Fever, is going to be joining the program live this week to talk about why his credential was taken away by the Indiana Fever. And then on top of that, because everybody knows the saga of the Diana Rossini, Mike Vrabel story, we are actually having Chrissy Freud on our show on Thursday. After
I don't know how I still don't know how I made that happen, but we somehow made it.
I'll tell you how it partially happened. It was because she put out a tweet that she was going to be on TV, and originally she said she was going to come on the show. I tweeted from the Press Row account, "Oh, so you have time to do TV, but all of a sudden you don't have time for our show." The tweet blew up and went viral on Twitter after I put it out. 15,000 people saw the tweet I put out, and she quote tweeted it, and that's how that all came to be and why she's coming on the show
Checkmate.
on Thursday.
Yeah.
So, incredible show. Don't miss the 3 p.m. hour. Both are going to be on in that hour. So, don't miss the show. All right, we can continue now.
Go ahead, David.
I was going to say the one thing about Stacey King that I remember I had to look it up was how good of a ball player he was his last 2 years at Oklahoma. I mean, he had over 20 points a game his last 2 years. That's how the Bulls got him with the 6th overall pick. But his last year, he was like All-American, 26 a game. I remember those Oklahoma teams which were really good. And then, like you said, he wins 3 titles in the first stages of the Jordan era of the before he was on the second one. But yeah, I mean, as I tell you, I covered the NBA. He was really good at color analyst. Just like I said, I was shocked when I heard how he died. I was just like, oof. But yeah, that sucks. Just the whole thing. But he was loved in Chicago from what you hear about everything, and that's what I said. That was cool. The Cubs gave him a tribute night type of thing before the game. So yeah, that's a big loss for the Bulls.
It's also just a big name. Like, we all root for all teams around this country. We get used to guys we've heard forever. I can tell you just from being a Yankee fan, we just lost John Sterling this year. If you were a Yankee fan, you were synonymous with John Sterling. You knew when you were listening to the games that sometimes you would just mute Michael Kay. Sorry, even though I'm a fan. And I've tried to get him on our show before, and he gave me a BS excuse for why he couldn't come on. Anyway, but sometimes I would lower the TV and listen to John Sterling, like as the background track while listening to the game.
You know why? Because it's for a lot of people, like for me, it was Harry Kels. It's your childhood. It's like I grew up to listen to this one or that one. Yeah, for the Dodgers, it was Vin Scully. So I mean, everybody has their thing. I mean, a lot of people I know live up in your area. Man, they were like crushed when Sterling died.
Oh, it was terrible. Like when we did the show for Press Row afterwards, it was tough to talk about it, man, because he's a legend. He had a streak of 5,200 plus games in the booth, also, which, by the way, that'll never happen again. I'm just going to say that now,
right?
Because the amount of travel that it takes to call games, and with all the crisscrossing of East Coast and West Coast now, it's impossible to do 5,200 games plus in a row.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I was the same way, Chick Hearn passing away, living in San Diego in the shadow of the Lakers and the Clippers for all those years. Their games were on KCAL 9 and Fox Sports West and KTLA down here. So, grew up with Chick and Stu for all those years until Chick passed away after he suffered injuries in a fall. I mean, 3,339 straight Laker games called over, a 40-year career, multiple championship runs. All the calls, all the high water mark games that he had. And then locally, of course, Jerry Coleman's death, calling Padre games forever. Right. But of course, his baseball career, but of course, the war career, though, of World War II, Korea, him leaving baseball twice to go and fight overseas and whatnot. And Ted Leitner retiring after 40 years of Padre baseball and SDSU football and basketball. Now he's a community ambassador for the ball club. So certainly we all have those voices that everyone, of course, grew up with as time has gone on. So all the best to Stacey King and the family in wake of his passing. What we can confirm, by the way, from ESPN 1000's Dave Kaplan, it was a fall.
Yeah.
That led to Stacey King's passing here today. With that, though, everybody, let's go from all things hockey, all things baseball as June now settles in. And teams continue right now to perhaps hit that panic button, including my San Diego Padres. But, of course, Nick, starting with you, though, panic meter right now for the Yankees because of Aaron Judge's injury. Where's it at?
Probably at a 10 for me. Now, I'm going to be curious to see what our Hitting for the Cycle co-host has to say since he talks about this every single week. But you know what? That's a bad injury. I think it was a rib cage injury is what they're...
Stress fracture of one of the ribs in his rib cage, yeah.
You're not going to see him for close to 2 months, probably. And everyone's saying, it's going to be quicker. He's got to first rest to recover, they said, for 4 to 6 weeks before he can even pick up a bat. Or actually, forget picking up a bat. Going to the doctor and seeing if it's even feasible after 4 to 6 weeks. Now, they somehow continue to win games, which I can't figure out. But their pitching is somehow figuring it out, but they have no offense. When he doesn't play, their offense dies. It just clear out dies. They can't hit. They have no protection in the lineup. But I would say the concern level is definitely a 10 if you're a Yankee fan. right now.
Yeah, David, obviously, the Phillies have finally, gotten themselves back on track after a great start to the month of June over the course of their homestand, sweeping San Diego and then winning 2 out of 3 over the White Sox this weekend.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk, though, David, it would have just taken them getting rid of Rob Thompson and having Don Mattingly take over this roster that they would finally pick up the slack finally.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like what Nick said. They've had really good pitching. That's like Sanchez and Wheeler and Zvares, but they're like well, I'm trying to compare to yours thing, but like their hitting sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a couple guys who are hitting, but like Trey Turner, I think was batting around like 200 his last 20 or 30 games. Dallas Garcia's like 150, and with the Yankees, that's why I said like Cam Schlittler. I'm just going to be back to the Yankees. Cam Schlittler was a nightmare to the Red Sox. I think his ERA is under 1 now. I mean, granted, like if we had bet on him, they would tell you, well, the Red Sox suck, and it's like, but they're getting really, and they got timely hitting today. They got 5 in the 8th and 1. But I mean, with the Phillies, I always say you got Toronto and Milwaukee this week. Win 2 out of 3. If you sweep a team, great. But I've already said they're not going to win the division. Atlanta is just in another world right now.
Yeah.
Hitting, pitching, everything. Just try and get into a wild card and then see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is with the Phils. But
yeah,
the Yankees, the reason why they're doing so well, they got really solid pitching.
Yeah, David, I agree, though. I mean, at the rate that we're going, the NL West is already over. No one's going to catch the Dodgers whatsoever. I mean, the Padres had a chance back in May when they were a half game ahead, and they won that first game on my birthday with that 1-0 win with that Miguel Andujar homer. Then since May 19th, they've been below 500, though. They lost the last 2 to the Dodgers that weekend. They won 2 out of 3 over the Athletics, though. Then ever since then, it's been 2 sweeps of the hands of Philadelphia here and in Philly. They lost, and then they lose a series in Washington. They lose a series this weekend to the Mets right now. And, the offense has just been, they're so lethargic. I was at the game on Friday, and it's either they pitch well enough to win and they don't hit, or they hit and then they don't pitch and they can't hang on to a lead, as was the case in that series against the Nationals on Saturday and Sunday. They had leads, they couldn't hold them, they would walk the bases loaded, then it would be timely hitting by the opposition, whatnot. And Manny Machado's numbers just continue to be dismal. Fernando Tatis Jr.'s numbers are still dismal. And Craig Stammen has tried so hard, guys. I think I wrote this in a Substack last Wednesday when they got swept by Philly the first time around, that people are gunning for the heads of Craig Stammen in the hitting, in the coaching staff. The onus, as I said, is not on that. It's on these guys getting paid $30 to $40 million a year to not suck at the plate when it comes to guys in scoring position or just in general. They strike at the worst possible time. They take way too many pitches right down the pipe for strike 1 or strike 2. They foul off a pitch. And, I don't want to hear the excuses anymore about, it's a hard line drive, but right at the left fielder. It doesn't matter. It's still an out in the scorebook. And I kid you not, I booed them off the field on Friday because I think we've all reached a fever pitch here in town that you've got so much great talent. And how can you not get anything going offensively? You can't be having 0 for 33 streaks of not hitting with runners in scoring position, because in a way, as I wrote into Cycle on Thursday, this is now just bringing back bad trauma of that dysfunctional 2023 team with Bogarts and Soto, with Machado and Tatis Jr., that they just cannot deliver in the clutch. And today they had a chance, a couple times, after they fell behind 1-0 in the bottom of the first, they get back-to-back leadoff walks, ground ball double play, fly out, end the inning, and you leave 2 runners stranded, though. And then the Mets, I think, hit 3 or 4 homers today off the Padre pitching. So, I mean, they're lucky to be where they are right now. Still kind of, in a very much log jam right now with like 5 teams tied for the wild card right now. It's only June, but I don't know right now if this gets any better. I mean, we can all say, well, it's only, it can get better. But the way that I see it right now is that you need to do something. And I don't know what that is right now. I mean, you're starting 2 AAA outfielders right now because of them releasing Castellanos. You lose Ramon Laureano to season-ending hip surgery because he ripped his labrum at one point, or ripped his labrum as the weekend began against the Mets on Friday. So the dysfunction is everywhere right now with the Padres, and they're kind of lucky to be 33-30 or 33-31 at the stage, though. But I mean, Friday, it was really bad, that they, again, had a lot of chances to score. And what's even more demoralizing, fellas, in the 4 games I've gone to, all 3 games that they've lost, they've been shut out by the opposing team over those 3 games, by LA, Chicago, and by the Mets on Friday. And literally, I heard people, including myself, boo these guys off the field on Friday because of the sheer, frustration. And again, I'm not going to be the one that says it's going to be on the manager or on the coaching staff. Craig Stammen, as I wrote in my article a couple weeks ago, Craig Stammen has changed the lineup more times than Mike Schultz ever did during last year. I think Schultz changed the lineup 14 times last year. Stammen changed it, I think, 38 times already this year, entering that game or after that game concluded last Wednesday. So, I mean, I don't know where they go from here, though, but they're going to have to do something quickly, and it's not going to be firing the hitting coach. It's on these guys in that lineup to actually figure it out and deliver. Zain, how about your thoughts where the Cubs stand right now after, again, a very wild weekend with them playing the Athletics earlier in the week, though, and then their recent series here as well at Wrigley?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can really say is that they're just very, very inconsistent at the moment. You can never figure out where they're at on a nightly basis. I don't know if it's, injuries or morale, but they certainly aren't the same team that they were a couple weeks ago. Luckily, there's still a lot of the season left, but now you just got to hope for a wild card spot because the Central is too tough. So we'll see how the next couple weeks go, but the series aren't going to get any easier, and that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, the Padres wrap up their homestand, by the way, playing the Reds Monday through Wednesday before they head on the road for a lengthy 9-game road trip, partially because of the fact we have the NASCAR race coming to Naval Base Coronado on June 21st. So they'll be going to, I believe, Baltimore. I think it's going to be Baltimore, and I think the Texas and elsewhere over the course of the upcoming 9-game road trip. With that in mind, fellas, from all things baseball to all things NFL offseason news, again, we talked about the massive week last week of the trades of A.J. Brown, Myles Garrett, including the signings of OBJ and Juju Smith-Schuster heading to the New York Giants. And, of course, mandatory mining camps and OTAs have begun, though. Nick Morganson, where do you think things stand right now as we're about a week into June right now with teams kind of beginning to right now get things underway, though, with some small camps, with camp, though, right now a little bit with some mini camps. But Nick, I know that last week, though, that the news, though, was all about those signings, though, or the trades made, though. Nick, right now in June, where do you think things stand right now? And maybe is there one more big name that might be getting moved here sometime soon, though, across the NFL? What do you think?
I mean, can we just say again that Howie Roseman is a genius and continues to push the right buttons when it comes to trades? I mean, this guy just success after success after success when it comes with trades. I mean, now, I don't know how much to expect out of A.J. Brown in an Eagles uniform, because even though I heard a report that apparently he was leaking stories to the Philadelphia media, even though he was still with the Patriots, I don't know if there's a whole lot of truth to that. But will he have more reps in Philadelphia? Sure, he'll have more reps. I mean, in New England.
Yeah.
Will he have more reps in New England? Yes, he will have more reps because he's going to go from being like he should have been the first option in Philadelphia, even though they didn't treat him that way. The Patriots are going to use him as a 1-2 option almost every game, and he's going to touch the ball.
Have to.
And on top of that, when you have a great running back at Saquon when he's healthy, that's actually going to cause more open balls for AJ to catch because you're going to have to play more threat off the ball with Saquon. So I think that's great. I think, like I said, Howie Roseman is the top executive in the NFL, and it's not close. On the Myles Garrett side,
hang on a sec. So you would take him maybe over Les Snead?
Yeah, Howie Roseman has been the best executive for the last 2 or 3 years. I think he was executive of the year last year, right? So I just think he's pushed all the right buttons when it comes to drafts and to building up draft capital, going out, stealing Saquon away from the Giants was one of the more impressive moves I've ever seen. Number one. Now, the Giants didn't do themselves any favors.
I was going to say, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Yeah.
Nick, just to slightly correct you, last year's executive of the year was Seattle's. It wasn't Howie Roseman.
It might have been the year before. But my point is, he's always up in the top 3 when it comes to being executive of the year.
Yeah.
And he just pushes all the right buttons. Now, on the Myles Garrett situation, the Browns are just brown. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I don't know how to explain them, to be honest. Myles Garrett was never going to win a title in Cleveland.
Right.
I don't think Cleveland's going to win a Super Bowl in the next 10 to 15 years.
No,
Period.
they
way,
probably
sadly.
won't.
I will say though, I like the trade for Cleveland.
I feel so bad for Jared Verse, though. Because the guy, one moment, he's on a Super Bowl contending team, and now he's not going to have any chance.
Nick, not just the Super Bowl contending team, they were 2 or 3 snaps away from going to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Right.
No, but I'm talking about like this coming into this offseason.
No, for sure.
And now all of a sudden you have to say, oh, crap, I just got traded to one of the worst teams in the NFL. And I have to make it work somehow. And
now I look like a Tootsie Roll.
And yes, and like I know, like he came out and he said all the right things. Like I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize my status. But you have to feel dejected a little bit going from the Rams that were Super Bowl favorites.
Oh, of course, but he's not going to openly admit it publicly and throw his new team under the bus, though. But I'm sure internally he feels that way.
And Todd Monken is not a head coach. Can we just admit that? Also, like the guy got the job because no one wants to coach the Cleveland Browns at all. No one, right?
Well, I mean, who was available that you could say we could put him in there?
Well, they were talking to McDaniel, and then he pulled out last minute.
Wise decision.
Well, because they do that stupid thing where they give all the coaches like tests or whatever to see if they are smart enough to handle the book, which is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. That reminds me of, what was it, the Wonderlic test?
Yes.
That they give to the players in the draft. Who was the one that like failed it miserably a couple of years ago?
Oh,
I don't remember that.
That one I forget. Like that, I knew there was some. I forget who it was.
And it dropped his draft status because of it. He was supposed to be like in the top 10 picks, and he dropped out of the first round.
So is this all on Haslam? I mean, the owner with that whole thing with McDaniels is he like the problem or not really? I mean,
Haslam's been a headache forever when it's come to owning that team, and I think he's got partial ownership in the Bucks also,
and
right?
Nashville SC of MLS,
which I think the MLS team has been fine, at least from what I understood.
Yes,
the Bucks won a title 5 years ago.
But he can't get his Cleveland Browns under control. He made one of the worst contract decisions in the history of the NFL with Deshaun Watson. Yes. I mean, your quarterback situation was Shedeur Sanders and who's Dylan Gabriel,
Joe Flacco.
By the way, how about that thing with Dylan Gabriel? So first day of OTAs, he comes out wearing number 8. Somebody went, I guess Dylan Gabriel's going to be cut soon because like that was his number. There was nothing like whatever it was like, hey, do you want money for it? He was just like, that's mine. I'm taking it, putting it on. I'm number 8 now.
But that goes to show you how dysfunctional the Browns organization is. Like, they can't figure out winning chemistry if it bit them in the ass.
Agreed.
And one thing, too, about that stadium, I was there last year. Like I said, I did a baseball trip. It's rusted out. I don't even think it's 30 years old. There was rust on top. And then they were saying, well, he's looking to get a new stadium like 20 miles inward. I think a dome or something like that. Another dome. So...
And weren't they trying to get a new stadium in Cleveland also, if I'm not mistaken? For the Browns? I think they were.
I think what was supposed to happen is they were supposed to build the new stadium, then the Browns were going to be liable to tear down the old one in downtown.
They wanted to get one with a retractable roof so they could have the Final Four in the stadium.
Other events,
And I think they wanted to do concerts and all this stuff. And but I think I don't know. I don't think they got the funding for it or whatnot.
No, because
their current stadium, and I've never been in it, but their current stadium just looks ugly to me. I don't know what it is.
It is. It's pretty. I would also call it a little dysfunctional too.
They did call it the Factory of Sadness for a reason, fellas.
They put it to you this way, Zane. You don't want to be there in December when like they're 3-13 and it's like 2 degrees with lake effect snow.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, I mean, horrible.
The one thing I'll say too is like it kind of reminds me a little bit of Oakland Raider fans back in the day when their teams were so bad. And
I mean, they still are. What are you talking about?
No, but I'm just saying back when they were in their original place and the team is so bad, like the fans are showing up. By the way, I think Oakland Raider fans were some of the most dedicated fans in the NFL.
The black hole.
The black hole, baby.
And I felt bad when the Raiders got moved to Vegas and they screwed over their entire fan base. Like,
Gee, how does that not sound familiar?
I'll tell you what. You want to watch one of the best 30 for 30s that
Al Davis versus the NFL.
I
Yes.
watched it. Yeah.
That one's awesome.
I mean,
I
that
did
was
too.
glorious. As soon as they moved back to Oakland from LA, that's when he goes, I won my own stadium, whatever it was, with just sweets. He was the first to start all that stuff. And they just kept kicking it down the can down the road, and then they were just like, I'm out of here. So
I was going to say, look at Oakland right now. No NBA, no MLB, and no NFL.
lost all three in less than 10.
Lost all 3 teams in a 10-year span.
Which is crazy because, like, think about the Warriors, okay? Like, who won all the titles, and now where are they? They are
San Francisco.
Yeah, because San Francisco's a better city than Oakland.
And then they were saying, and I'll be quick on this, they were saying that, I don't know how much true it is, that once Vegas or once the A's moved to Vegas, they want to put an MLB expansion in Sacramento. And I'm like, they're just trolling the people in Oakland.
I feel bad for Oakland fans too, because like they had the A's for all those years. They had really good teams. They just never won anything.
They won 4 World Series. They won 3 in a row in the 70s, and they won the Earthquake Series in '89 over the Giants.
Right, but I'm saying like in the 90s, they were good teams. They just
the Moneyball A's of 02.
By the way, that's a great movie. By the way, too,
That's
Moneyball.
an outstanding movie.
There's the Yankees, the Red Sox, 50 feet of crap in us.
I mean, 57 years there.
And the thing is, like, they do over exaggerate some of the stuff in the movie a little bit, but you know what? Billy Beane was ahead of his time as a GM in baseball, doing things the Moneyball way as
San Diego's own Billy Beane.
And I find it odd that I didn't realize he got offered like $13 million to go be the Red Sox GM. Like that was wild to me. But you know what?
Yeah.
It is what it is, and I feel bad for Oakland fans. Cleveland fans, like, they're never going to move because I think Cleveland will always be an NFL staple.
Well, and now they legally can't because of the Art Modell rule that he cannot move the Cleveland Browns out of Cleveland, Ohio whatsoever.
I thought they were talking that they were going to move to, like, was it Bray or somewhere like 10 or 15 miles inward.
Brook Park, Ohio, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
Well, speaking of, again, because of Mr. Chicago sitting in here with all the now that the Bears are most likely
the
moving to
Chicago
Indiana.
Bears of Indiana.
I mean, Zan, you're probably beside yourself that they're moving from Chicago to Indiana.
Well, it doesn't hurt me as much as it does other people because I only go to 1 to 2 Bears games a season, and let me tell you, getting in and out of that stadium is a nightmare. I'm almost convinced that if the stadium in Hammond is anything nicer than Soldier Field, I think people will start kind of scaling back a little bit some of their feelings. Right now, it's overly emotional because people can't fathom the Bears, the second oldest NFL franchise ever, not being in the physical city. But I don't know. It's a very interesting story. But by the way, Callan, just a side conversation. Figured I'd let you know this because I'm sure this is going to be the compliment that will end your week on a high note. My dad thinks you have an outstanding voice for things like this, so I figured I'd pass on the compliment to you, and I'm sure that probably makes your entire weekend.
Yes.
Yes. Please tell your dad I said thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
I will for sure.
I'm sorry, interrupt. I have a question for Zain because I've been hearing it this weekend. Are you starting to hear any sort of backlash to the owners because of this move thing in terms of just like, well, they have this land in Arlington Heights. And I guess they thought everybody's going to be excited we're going to go to Hammond. And then now it's starting to sound like everybody just are not even blaming the governor. It's all blaming on the McCaskey family.
Yeah, it's all the Bears at this point because they, for whatever reason, could not make up their mind even when they had the land in Arlington Heights. And they just decided to stall and do whatever they wanted to do, which I think is the most frustrating part of this whole thing. And I just think mixing good press with bad press on the same week has been a recipe for disaster. You get the Caleb Williams announcement that he's on the cover of Madden 27, which is the game I will get. Well, either way, he's the first Bears player to ever be on the cover of the game. And then you mix it in the same week with this whole Hammond situation. It's a complete disaster. Not to mention the fact that, and I'm sure this goes for all NFL teams, but considering that NFL games have become almost an unaffordable excursion for a lot of these people, even the non-season ticket holders. It's a complete recipe for disaster, no question about it. So,
by the
Yeah, I
way,
mean,
Nan,
yeah. Go ahead, David.
I'll say, Nan, I think they're not moving to Indiana. I think
I
they're
don't,
going to.
I don't
I
think,
think
I
they're
don't
going
think so either. I don't think
But
so
the
either.
but the politics is not allowing them to stay in Chicago, though. That's the problem.
I think I think what's going to happen to you. My personal thing is, first of all, they showed Hammond. That's an industrial thing. It's on, but like refineries and like little small dive bars. So
Yeah, that sounds like the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana that just shut down about a year or two ago.
I just think what's going to happen is they're going to weigh it out, and somebody will go back and say like, because it sounded like they don't want. The big issue too is not they didn't want to pay property taxes on the Arlington Heights thing. So I think in the end they'll come up with something where they're like, we're going to stay there, and then like we'll build it there, we're going to move there, and then the fun thing to watch if that all happens is going to be the spin zone of the McCaskey family then trying to say we were never going to leave. Like we love Illinois and this, we just had to figure out certain things. And, like we appreciate Hammond, but we always were thinking we were staying in Illinois.
Well, let me, Callan, you want to do a quick little break in the action here, and then I might. What?
Did you have any breaking news? Because you look like you were like trying to send me something.
No, do the read first, then I'll get to it.
All right. Well, if you are an MMA fan getting ready for UFC Freedom 250, step into the cage every Monday night with our good man Tom Albano on Fight IQ, which breaks down the world of combat sports with the precision of a championship game plan. We're analyzing ground control at PFL events to breaking down the technical mastery of the world's best strikers. We're covering the technique, the drama, and the business of the fight game. We want to understand the IQ behind the world's most dangerous athletes. Tom has you covered every Monday right here on ETB, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific time. Only on the ETB network. Make sure to subscribe today over at youtube.com/ETB network as we get ever so closer to UFC Freedom 250 from the White House in Washington, D.C.
As long as we don't have an injunction. But speaking of... So, some interesting breaking news. Of course, I bring up the Rossini Vrabel story, and we got breaking news. So this is coming from... unfortunately, our favorite entertainment section of all time, page 6, which is owned by the New York Times.
Yes.
So, New York Times investigation into Diana Rossini still not finished after 2 months after Vrabel photo scandal causing staff unrest. Some inside the New York Times building are beginning to wonder what's taking so long with Diana Rossini investigation. We're told, but top editors have reiterated promises that it's coming, though they say a report is still weeks away.
They're just going to drag this out till the first day of the season, and then some bombshell drops when the Rams and Niners kick off from Melbourne.
That's exactly right. And my prediction is the bombshell is going to drop 5 minutes before kickoff, and all the storylines are going to go away from the game to whatever that major breaking news is going to be in early September.
Zan, please don't wish that into existence. I don't feel like doing a breaking press row like before the NFL game. But it says internal strife at the Times began after the Athletics top editor Steve Gisenberg immediately backed Rossini, and we know how that whole thing went down. But I find it amazing that after 2 months, they've been doing an internal investigation. They still don't have answers.
Something's fishy with that.
But I don't know what to. By the way, and Callan and I talked about this on when we were doing the Sorsby stream the other night. Everyone keeps saying that we love this story for Press Row. We don't like this story at all. This story has become a headache and the bane of our existence on Press Row. Because we've had to cover every angle of this story. Callan, how many angles do you think we've reached on this story?
Too many,
now you guys
including...
are covering another angle with the potential key source in this whole thing based on what she tells you.
I was going to say that we had Tony Farmer on, who's been covering this story about as neutrally as Nick and I have tried to cover this whole story on last week.
And I feel bad for Tony because like WEEI has been beating the crap out of him in Boston for no apparent reason whatsoever. But I'm just going to stop talking because this story frustrates me. Continue.
I was going to say, guys, can we talk quickly about the story that broke about Brandon Ayuk being served the warrant by the Santa Clara County Police Department last week when it came down? Because I think Nick and I touched based on it briefly on Press Row last Wednesday. I'm only getting to it, though, getting to it now because, of course, guys, Brandon Ayuk has now fired back at the San Francisco 49ers in wake of what has gone on via another social media video. Can this guy just stop already?
Well, wait a minute. Before you talk about the video, did you see the picture that he put out on his Instagram story?
I think that's what is.
I
But I think that's what is being mentioned in the story, though. But Nick, can you fill us in here real quick before I get to the quotes from your guy Mike Florio?
Oh God, screw Pro Football Talk. Anyway, so in the picture, he took a shirtless picture like every other NFL athlete does. But Zain, you'll find this interesting. He was wearing a Commander's hat.
Okay.
And what was the rumored team that was looking to trade for him? The Commanders.
Right.
Commanders, yep.
So is this spite or is that coincidence?
No, he probably did it on purpose. I think he knew. I think he knew what he was doing for sure.
Go ahead, Cal.
Further, though, per Nick's favorite guy on the planet Earth for NFL, as much as I can't stand Bob Nightingale and Ken Roosevelt for how they treat the Padres, Nick has the same feelings about Mr. Florio of PFT. But via a message that Mr. Ayuk has written on Instagram, it reads in part in the video, to the 49ers, stop running from the belt. The belt's coming. You scared. They scared. The truth is they scared. They know how I get it. They're going to say, oh, yeah, BA did this, BA did that. You know that bleep, allegedly. But what they not going to say is BA sucks at football because they know how I get it. And they running from that belt that's coming on the way. It's inevitable. It's coming. Stop running, open and close quote. Mr. Morgeson, it's time for this guy to get out of the league and I think consult therapy.
Sounds like a bit of an AB situation.
Yes.
No, I'd be careful with that comment slightly because AB has done some horrible things in public, including if you remember the pool incident where he was.
No, I do. I'm just saying the way he's framing that message feels very AB like a little bit, where he's trying his hardest to defend himself. I'm not saying anything that he's done is remotely close.
I was going to say he hadn't like stripped all of his gear off in the end zone and then did the gritty and then like flipped off the fans and
that was with the Jets. Yeah. That was with the Jets. Don't remind me.
Yeah.
But
and then stormed off the field.
I would say, well, Callan, you and I had talked about the car incident where he drove past the 49ers stadium and
drove by Levi's Stadium, going over the speed limit, and then flipped it off, and then I think turned the video camera to face himself after he did that whole thing.
Well,
that's where the warrant, by the way, is coming from. Is that whole incident from this past season?
I don't think Ayuk is laughing though, because he got a warrant for what I don't know I forgot what they called it.
Excessive speeding in that area.
But there was a weird name for the charge. Also, when I read it, and I'm trying to find it, but this guy needs some help. Like I wouldn't say AJ Brown mental help, but
Antonio Brown help. Yeah,
I mean, sorry, Antonio Brown. I don't.
I do.
What?
I think he needs like Antonio Brown help.
Yeah, big time.
I would get his buddy Jaden Daniels on the phone and like, look, have a conversation with him. I know you want to go to Washington. That's why he wants to go to Washington first of all, is because his buddy who he played with at ASU.
Well, he wants to play with Debo too.
Yeah, but will Debo be there? That's the other thing. But that's
that's right, because he's a free agent. You're right.
But no, I would get him on the phone. Like, look, you got to talk to your guy here just to kind of see what's going on with him mentally. But that's the thing too, man. $120 million contract you give all voided because you're acting like an idiot. I mean, it's like just play the game, whatever it is. Play and like you said, you get your money and the whole thing. But yes, it's just I guess Shanahan messed him up. John Lynch messed him up.
He blamed everybody except himself. Let's just
and that usually happens though when your ego begins to take over the membrane. Sadly,
yes.
I see what you did there. But they're calling it exhibition of speeding, which I didn't understand what exhibition of speeding meant at first, but apparently it's like doing donuts and leaving tire track marks and like basically like taking the road on 2 wheels and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I'm like,
I think drag racing was also in that charge too, or that it's underneath that category for those charges that he's facing.
well, they said he might face other charges depending on because he's running from the warrant right now. He's not turning himself in, but I don't know. I would say Antonio Brown is on a much different level. He's constantly live streaming the women he's with. I haven't seen Ayuk do that at all.
No.
But
Nor did he pull an AB and take his gear off in the middle of a game and then dance in the end zone.
No, but what I will say, the weird pool incident with Antonio Brown puts him way above anything that Brandon Ayuk has done. Sitting in a pool doing God knows what in that pool. Ayuk is a really good wide receiver.
Yes.
But just because you're a good wide receiver doesn't mean you're above the rules either.
He's a good wide receiver when his head doesn't get in the way.
Right.
And his mental state is all there.
But he's got to stop bitching about his team. And that's another thing. Like, he was throwing his team under the bus. Do you remember the Instagram story where he basically said, I'm leaving, I'm out of here if I don't get what I want and all that stuff? And that didn't look good either.
No. And I mean, the Niners have enough problems as is, though, with, their injury problems and, that whole, CEO conspiracy about the substation plant by the stadium in Santa Clara and whatnot. And then this whole thing happens. Like, in a way, it's like the 49ers can't get out of their own way, whether it's the injury problems or even, this whole thing with Brandon Ayuk that is just now spiraling further out of control. But David, any further thoughts on this whole story?
I mean, I don't know. It's just a mess or whatever it is. The bottom line is he wants to get traded to Washington. And John Lynch is like, look, you had a contract and we're just voiding it all and you're just going to sit there. So
did they void it officially yet? Did they void it yet?
I believe they did.
I think they voided it last year, I think, after he had the speeding incident, I think.
Because that was the thing where Lynch had the press conference because he will never play for the 49ers ever again. John Lynch you could just sense, was really pissed about that whole thing. I think,
and rightfully so, because that's a $120 million investment going right down the shitter. Yeah.
So it was okay. So you're right. So they did void it. It was a 4-year contract back to 2024, $120 million extension, and he lost almost $25 million option bonus for 2026.
Yeah, because he acted like a child, speeding and everything else. Yeah.
And the thing is, if he was healthy, they could have traded him and gotten a lot for him.
They could have gotten a haul, I think.
But if I'm the Commanders, I stay far away from Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, I would say if you're any team right now in the NFL, you're staying as far away from him as possible and not touching him with a 10-foot pole.
I wouldn't go near him, because how do you trust him to behave on a team, let alone be healthy also?
Well, the only way that would, I say he went to the Commanders, like say Jaden Daniels said, look, you got to get one. They probably would just say, look, if you do violate any of this stuff and you have a meeting, everybody bring him in, and then we're just going to get rid of your ass.
Yeah.
Well, we think you're talented, but you're a head case right now.
I don't think he's ever going to get a guaranteed contract.
Oh, never
again.
No way.
I think it's going to be like base salary plus full incentive.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't trust that guy. How do I know he's not going to go throw my team under the bus the next time I walk in? I mean,
yeah,
he kind of has a little bit of Aaron Rodgers vibes to me, a little bit, where if he doesn't like the situation,
RELAX.
Thank you. But he has that vibe where if he doesn't, like, he has his own conspiracies of everything that goes on. He's going to blame everybody else like Aaron Rodgers did.
The world's out to get me.
I have to go sit in the darkness for 72 hours and get my meals served to me like I'm in a prison cell. But I don't know. I'd stay far, far away from Brandon Ayuk.
Zan?
I was going to say the dark, where it's just me, myself, and I.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Zane, your thoughts though on this whole new story here with Brandon Ayuk?
I mean, it's a circus, but when is there ever not a circus in the NFL in June, right? The Commanders better hope he gets to Washington, because they need help on the receiving front, and it's clear it's not working out in San Francisco. And this is more of an Ayuk problem than it is a team problem. And he needs to get his marbles on straight, because if he doesn't, he's going to continue to go down the wrong path, and it's going to ruin how people remember him. I think he's one of the more underrated receivers in football, and he just needs to get his head on straight, because if he can't, it's going to be a rough next couple years if he can't find his footing again. So,
yikes. Yeah. That'll be something that we keep an eye on, though, too, as well. With that, guys, as we get into hour 3 real quick, let's, though, Nick Morgeson, start off with you. Epicness at Roland Garros this whole entire French Open. Every big name, every top seed, gone goodbye, sayonara, congratulations, 19-year-old sensation. Mira Andreeva wins on the women's side, while Alexander Zverev outlasted Flavio Cabali today in a 5-set baseline war, as they both win their first ever French Open championships. Nick Morgeson, I mean, you were very much compelled by the entire tournament, though, about, like, I think a lot of people, the fact of every big name player bombing out, though, early on or not getting to the final. Absolutely sensational stuff at Roland Garros. But Nick, your overall thoughts on this year's French Open?
I mean, all the big seeds out. That's going to be the story of the French Open. Everybody dropping like flies. And you know what? Andreev, I think she's 19 years old, winning the French Open. Youngest since Monica Seles to win the French Open. Incredible player. Now, she's not a complete nobody. She was an 8th seed in the tournament, so I wouldn't say she's a complete nobody. I can't remember her opponent's name, but she was a story through the entire tournament.
Maja Chwalalinska, who I think was the player who was, like, hoping for a sponsor, I think, to or there was a storyline about
she couldn't afford her hotel room.
A hotel, yeah, and was looking for somebody to, like, pick up the bill.
So the amount of money that she made as prize money was like $850,000 plus. That's how much she's made in prize money. She made over $1 million making it to the French Open final. So she cleared her career earnings just by making an unbelievable, unprecedented run to the French Open final. Now, great match. And I don't know. And here's the other scary part. She's going to have to be a wild card still in the next major, because she doesn't have the points. Because she doesn't have the points. But I feel like if you win a tournament, you should be exempt from wild cards for the rest of the time.
I think that's fair. Especially if you win a major, French Open, U.S. Open, Wimbledon,
Australian Open,
the Aussie Open. That would be 4. That should guarantee you, like, a lifetime.
Into the draw.
Into the draw, not having to be a wild card. I would agree, though. David, I don't know about you, but I mean, very much, I think we're all very much casual tennis supporters, tennis fans. We'll watch.
Speak for yourself. I've played tennis for a long time.
And exactly. But I mean, still though, but I don't recall, though, any single tournament ever having every big name star that people gravitate to, as Nick said, drop like flies and bomb out before they get to the final. Maybe there was, 1 year here or there, though, but with the history being made, Nick and I were talking about what could have been for Monica Seles if it wasn't for the, incident that happened during her career, though, at a tournament, though, where, again, the fan jumped the fence and stabbed her and whatnot, and so on and so forth. But
I want to throw one more stat, and this might help David, too, with an opinion for the Open this year. 32 5-set matches at the French Open this year. 32. I mean, wow. That's the most I've seen in years. So does that help you, David, a little bit with how this tournament went?
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting because at first, let me see if I get this right. French Open started and it was blazing heat. It was like in the 90s.
Yes.
That was and that's why some of them, I think, lost. Also, probably some maybe were not good on clay, but that was part of it. Then 2 days later, it's in the 60s, pouring rain, and then it just was all over the place. So I saw it here and there, but yeah, I mean, 5-set matches were really interesting. I mean, like with the French Open stuff. I was more fixated today on the men's final. The guy who won with like play
Zverev.
set, you play a set. Hey, where's my needle at? I'm a diabetic, and then taking shots in this, during timeouts or whatever you want to call it there.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, he's diabetic.
Checking his blood sugar levels in between sets.
Well, that's probably. I mean, if he's diabetic, then you have to do that because you're.
Yeah, but I know. As everybody said, like you never have seen this before, but it was interesting to watch that the whole match. He's just checking glucose, taking a shot, whatever it is. So I mean, he wanted that, so that was awesome.
But to answer that one question you said about high temperatures,
yeah.
So Yannick Sinner and Callan, I think you know where I'm going with this. Yannick Sinner ended up having dehydration issues during his match, and that's why he ended up. I don't know if I forgot if he pulled out of his match eventually or
I think he may have just lost. I think,
but I think Novak was having some problems with heat at one point. Almost took it out on a cameraman. What else is new? I'm trying to think. Just a lot of the big seeds lost. Even on the women's side, Coco Gauff went out.
Sabalenka
is the one seed. Which, by the way, she needs to calm down. Sabalenka.
Oh yeah,
because when she got interviewed by the press, now part of this has to do with that all the players are protesting with 15-minute press conferences right now due to the separate revenue issue that the players are having with the MTA and the WTA and all the majors. But she basically said, "This is the worst time of my life, and I might quit." That's how she was quoted after she lost her match. Are you serious? You're the number one player in the world, and you're threatening to quit?
Didn't one of the women's I could be wrong as whatever. Didn't one of the women's tennis players just recently, like maybe it's that one, like had a meltdown, like say she's going to retire?
Naomi Osaka.
Yeah, and they were just, I don't know if it was her or somebody else. It was a younger one. Like, it was this young tennis player. And it's like she had a fit. And like she goes, I'm probably just going to retire, like, on social media. And, like, there was somebody who called her out and said, just go do it.
you're getting paid all this money. Like, why are you quitting?
Yeah.
I
mean,
I am having a very bad day. Today is one of the worst days that I've had in a long time.
Go ahead.
Live look in Sabalenka's press conference right there.
Well, though this week Agassi was stunned with the one person withdrawing, Matteo Arnaldi.
Well, that was a viral illness. You're talking about in the semifinal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, it was a viral illness, and he had no choice. He couldn't compete because he was very sick.
Yeah, it sounded like they were saying, man, it's like Agassi couldn't relate to the decision. I'm like, but if you're sick, you're sick. I mean,
but wait a minute. Andre and Pete Sampras had one of the most epic tennis matches of all time.
Right.
And was it Sampras who threw up on the court in the middle of the match? I think, yeah, it was Sampras from dehydration. They played one of the longest 5-set matches in history.
Yeah, Agassi also, I think criticized Sinner with the French Open. He just said there was no excuse, whatever what Sinner did too. So Agassi was very chatty during his French Open.
Well, Sinner's a very shady individual anyway, as Nick and I have talked about before about the whole steroid suspension.
Well, he was getting a rub down, and apparently there was the cream had steroids in it, and that's how he tested positive for it. But you know what? Tennis is a hard sport to play. Number one, I played it for years. You have to be in incredible shape to compete in these tournaments. And I don't take anything away from the women. Let me be very clear about that. But on the men's side, when you have to potentially play 5 sets and be out there for 4.5, 5 hours.
Yeah.
It's a test of endurance, that's for sure.
And staying hydrated is the toughest part during a tennis match. And I love this. So, like, when you see them go to their chair and they pull out a banana or, like, all this stuff to keep their potassium levels and they're drinking, like, 3 different liquids and 3 different bottles. And I'm like, okay, this is too much to be in.
It's like they're running a marathon, but it's on the court.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Coming up soon is the U.S. Open. Isn't there a big problem with some of the tennis players? They don't like the start times, whatever. Like sometimes
I think Wimbledon is first. I think.
Wimbledon was first. That was my mistake. Yes.
Yeah, Wimbledon's around the July 4th, but U.S. Open's been known for like some of the tennis players have complained about like start times, like late at night.
Well, so
for the U.S. Open, that's a problem, right, Ben?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So I worked the U.S. Open, Dave, a couple of years ago.
Okay.
They usually have matches at least between 8 in the morning to about like 3-4ish for like the early morning afternoon slate, and then they usually go the night matches start around 8:39.
It all depends when the session ends, too.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I was usually more of a morning afternoon session person anyway.
Right.
But every time I would go into clock in, we'd actually get match sheets in terms of like where every single player would be playing. So like I could go all the way around like different courts, and unfortunately guys like Djokovic and Alcaraz usually would play at night. So I wouldn't be able to really get to watch those guys, but I got to see like Taylor Fritz and
Okay.
and a couple of the main guys. And I saw Coco play as well too. So I did get to see a lot of them. Yannick Sinner as well. Speaking of Sinner, so incredible experience. But yes, that's answered your question, David.
Yeah, but Ben is right, and actually, David, you're right too. The times are a problem at the U.S. Open because being in New York, number one, because of the Eastern time zone, but at the same time, some matches were not finishing until 11 p.m. Eastern time or midnight.
Yep.
And then some guys would have to turn around early in the tournament
later the following day.
But now they have rules in place where you can't play the next day.
I was going to say, then they put like curfews in on some of the courts.
They had to.
Rash.
They had to because they don't want people. One, because of safety and traveling issues at night. But I think it's like midnight Eastern. I think is now the curfew. Like they have to stop the match and play the next day.
Drop dead. Yeah.
But then it screws up the rest of the bracket when they have to take a match the next day. And then they have to move everything around because say your opponent wins and they're supposed to play in that 2-day span. If a match is not finished, then they have to redo the scheduling.
And by the way, for those wondering, Wimbledon will have first serve June 29th through July 12th from the All English Club.
We're missing another headline of that too. Serena Williams is probably going to be at Wimbledon competing again.
Yeah, as I said on Cranium on Tuesday.
44 years old, by the way, for Serena Williams.
Doubles and doubles, or did they not announce it yet?
So she's coming back and playing doubles, I think, in the warm-up tournament. And then she has to get a wild card if she wants to compete in Wimbledon, which, by the way, I will say with most certainty, 99.9% she will get a wild card because she's the biggest name in professional tennis. So she will get a wild card. If she wants to play, she will play.
Yeah. I mean, I think so, as I said on Tuesday.
Will she win? Hell no. She will not win. But because she hasn't played in so long. So we'll see what happens.
It kind of reminds me of like Tiger trying to go back on tour. At like time, it's like
I literally made that comparison on Tuesday about about Tiger only coming back and playing though at an event that he sponsors, like the Genesis Invite at the Riviera in Westwood of Los Angeles, California, or in Florida, or the Masters, or U.S. Open. That's how I kind of felt about Serena with this whole announcement that she made about her becoming unretired.
Yeah, but the one difference I would say, though, is you could play golf forever. Mr. Golf down in the left corner can attest to that. You could probably play golf all the way into your 70s if you were in good shape. I mean, tennis, you can't play into your 70s. I mean, like, you'll be lucky. It's rare. You see a Serena and a Venus play for as long as they did.
I mean, maybe you can play pickleball till you're 70.
But, like, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak, all these guys that have played for 20-plus years on the tour, you don't see that. You're not going to see that again. The only one who you might see that from again is Alcaraz. And Alcaraz is already getting hurt way more than most of these guys are.
He got the bum wrist. And I think he pulled out, of Wimbledon, right?
So he missed the French Open, and he's going to miss Wimbledon, which is going to hurt the tennis ratings a lot that he's not playing.
Hopefully he'll be ready for New York for the U.S. Open.
Well, time could tell, but I'm concerned already that he's getting hurt at 23 years old.
Age, yeah.
But he's still going to break records. He already got his huge deal with Nike. He's making $300 million from Nike. I mean, he's already set for life. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. But, I mean, yeah, very fun, though, for the French Open to have a couple of first-time winners, though, win the French Open championships on Saturday and Sunday. Again, guys, we've been saying it and talking about it for quite a while, but again, we are just a few days away now from the kickoff of the 39-day odyssey that is the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup. From Canada, the U.S., and in Mexico. Mexico kicks off their tournament June 11th at high noon against South Africa from Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, Mexico, while Team USA kicks off on Friday versus Paraguay from SoFi Stadium, LA Stadium in Los Angeles, California, from Inglewood. And Canada kicks off their pursuit of a World Cup victory or World Cup title from Toronto as well on Saturday the 13th. With that in mind, David, obviously Philadelphia, your hometown, is hosting a lot of these events, though. The closest for me is LA, though. But David, obviously the main problem, I think, every year, though, with any tournament like the Olympics or the World Cup is always is about all the controversy, about how, Iraq is going to play, they're not going to play, moving their base camp to Tijuana, Mexico from Tucson, ticket prices, the transit issues in New Jersey, New York for the World Cup final and at MetLife Stadium, and, security and, this and that, though, and that, nations now are suing FIFA for giving El Presidente that, kind of fake medal of peace or whatever they gave him. David, obviously, I think optimism should still be, I think upbeat, though, because the one thing that Nick and I always talk about is that global events like this that don't go to nations like Canada, like the U.S., like Mexico, they seem to have, they do their job, then they become ghost towns. I think back to the Brazil World Cup where the stadiums weren't even built and finished yet. And they had, people sitting on concrete. I think back to the Qatar World Cup of all these shipping container stadiums that are still rotting, out there in the desert, in Qatar. And, that you need, and I've always said, go to places where it's not going to be a major hassle, as you and I know, David, very well, from the ice arena in Italy, that there was so much controversy about the arena being ready for hockey for the Winter Games this past February. But, David, before we get to the soccer talk, where, though, do you feel as a Philly native, you've got the tournament coming to town, you've got a potential Team USA match on the 4th of July in Philly if they get that deep into the round of 16 or out of the first game of the bracket stage. Where should optimism, though, in your mind be, though, for the soccer fans, you and me, and then plus anyone casually, not to throw Nick and Zain under the bus, though, but where, though, should our optimism be for the tournament, though, as a whole across North America coming up this Thursday?
Like in terms of like the chances of U.S. doing well, you mean?
I mean, that or just like the whole vibe of the tournament in general as it comes back to America for the first time in 32 years since 94.
I just think it's just they're going to see what happens. It's one of those wait and see what happens. I mean, there's like in terms of odds, they're so down, in the middle to the bottom of the thing. I think people just want to wait and see approaches. Like I saw that the first issue was already is that the coach, once he's done this, he's already jetting and getting a new job. And people were like, why did you do that while you're doing this training and practicing and stuff like that? I think for me, I'm just kind of wait to see what happens. I mean, you got Paraguay this Friday. You kind of just, for me, it's wait and see. The thing I've been more focused on have been now what's going on because of what's going on with this administration. I'm not trying to whatever. They said that tickets are now plummeting. Nobody's going into hotels. We're seeing and people from overseas aren't coming over here because they said they're afraid of like being harassed or whatever else. They're just like, I'll just watch it back in our native, country.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, I think it's fair, though, to have optimism and also that there is a cloud dangling over the World Cup starting on Thursday. And again, though, this is with any international sporting event, like the Olympics and like the World Cup or whatnot. But I think, though, Nick, that it still, though, should be a bit of a celebration that, this is the first time that the World Cup's come to the States in 32 years since the 94 World Cup first came here. It kicked off in Chicago at Soldier Field and all that sort of stuff. I think, though, that that Team USA having, one of their younger rosters on the field, though, after their spirited affair at Soldier Field yesterday before they had their send-off, they lost, but, they looked good in spurts, though. But I mean, Nick, as a, casual soccer viewer out there, where would you say your optimism is just for the whole tournament, not necessarily about Team USA right now? Because, again, we've talked so much about all the problems, though, plaguing the tournament already. And we haven't even kicked off the tournament yet, though, as we await Thursday.
So, number one, I think it's too many teams still. I think we're turning into March Madness where we're just gonna keep adding teams and adding teams and adding teams to the point where like March Madness is getting watered down. I think the World Cup has a chance of eventually getting watered down with all the teams. I mean, heck, they're talking about in 2030 going to 60 countries competing in the World Cup.
And if we believe the fine print, it's a one-time ordeal to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the first ever tournament back in 1930. I don't buy that for a second.
No. First of all, more teams means what? More TV time, more money they could charge for the tournament, whoever is going to have the rights. Right now, the contract for the World Cup is up after Fox runs it this year. My opinion is eventually the World Cup will end up on a streaming platform because that's where all the money is. I think it'll end up at Netflix or Amazon, probably Amazon because they have a little more international reach when it comes to those sports.
Fair.
But would I be surprised if Netflix, or could they hybrid it and have Netflix and Amazon Prime work together on a deal to bring you the World Cup?
Yes.
That where maybe the first half goes to one and the second half goes to the other, or they could do what the NBA did, where they separate it by which parts of the playoffs they want or which parts of the year. You get the Memorial Cup, as you love so much during the NBA season, or the play-in tournament or whatnot. I could see soccer going that direction. So, in my opinion, I think you're right that it's not a one-time ordeal. They're saying it's a one-time ordeal because they want to test it out to see if 60 countries can survive in the tournament in 2030.
Or a scenario that hasn't been brought up yet. What if it all goes under one roof and it goes under like Paramount or something? Because Paramount has a lot of those international rights for some of the other sports too.
And I think Zam, that's a great point too, because the PSG Arsenal UEFA Champions League match, I think, became the highest viewed soccer match on. I think in the U.S. when people tune in to watch the penalty kick shootout of PSG winning back-to-back titles.
Yeah, but here's the one issue with that. You're not going to get... Now, I know the Ellison family bought out Paramount and they own CBS and all that stuff, and he supposedly is the richest man in the world and whatever. I don't think Paramount is going to offer the money that Netflix or Prime would for the World Cup.
Fair.
Because... think about it. Netflix is drunkenly throwing money at all these different sporting events. Amazon Prime is throwing money at the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, boxing.
And boxing too, yeah.
Would I be surprised if UFC ended up at Prime Video someday?
No,
I wouldn't.
No, they could, especially with this. Especially if the WBO merger happens, they could end up a lot of places.
I also think they would have more freedom on Netflix and Amazon Prime than Paramount because of all the politicking that goes on at Paramount.
Right.
If they went to Netflix, they went to Prime, they can pretty much control.
Partially I would agree, but partially I wouldn't. I don't think Netflix would be willing to pay a premium for the fight night cards. That's I think why they never went to Netflix in the first place, because Netflix didn't want to pay them for those.
Well, I'm talking more about the World Cup than the UFC.
Oh yeah. From a World Cup standpoint, I'm sure everybody involved there could do whatever they want, regardless of what streaming service it is.
And if you go to a Netflix, you go to a Prime, you could pretty much set up the play-by-play teams however you want in that scenario. If you go to Paramount, you need to use the CBS analyst for soccer. Think about, and Zain, we can relate to this from the card we just saw with Rousey Carano. They went all over the place to get people to call them the different matches and stuff. I mean, so I don't know. I like the tournament though. Go ahead. What did you want to say, David?
I was going to say Netflix would really scare me with their commentators if they went that, especially if I did with baseball. I mean, I could see JP Dellacamera, Bert Kreischer, and then somebody else, like you said, have like a whole
Jameis Winston.
I mean, they had
Chad
baseball. So, yeah, I think it would be like you said, a joint thing. You're like Amazon and Paramount, like doing something together.
The one issue, and you bring up a good point, and Callan and I were on this when this happened with Netflix. This whole podcast ordeal that Netflix is going through right now, where they're paying millions upon millions of dollars to put podcasts on their platform.
It's so dumb.
and you're gonna but you're gonna see if eventually it ends up at Netflix. You don't think they're gonna bring Chad Ochocinco in because of the amount of views it's probably gonna do?
Of course they would.
They don't care. They don't care anymore about authenticity on these platforms. They care about who is the biggest name and who's going to draw the most views to their product.
Travis Kelce. I say that sarcastically, but why not? He's going to be retiring soon.
I mean, think about New Heights, their podcast that they do. It's now. I think the only reason that they get the $100 million deal is because of Taylor Swift. But at the same time, they're not looking at authenticity of who the best person is to call games or talk about games. Think about it. And I know this is away from sports for a second. Heck, they're talking about Joe Rogan going over to 60 Minutes.
But
think about that. But why are they doing that, though? Joe Rogan is the biggest name in the podcast world.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're not thinking about, is Joe Rogan going to do the news properly? They're just going to say, oh, Joe Rogan averages 100 million downloads a year.
I'm Joe Rogan, 60 Minutes.
If we can get 10...
let's be real here and take a panel vote. Who would watch Joe Rogan in 60 Minutes if he actually did it?
No.
Well, I'm gonna say for me personally, I've got because all the people I liked on 60 Minutes, they're all dead. Mike Wallace and this one,
Okay.
Well, and Scott Pelley just got himself fired. But like, my point is, if Joe Rogan is going to go to 60 Minutes, and he's a comedian by trade,
yes,
they don't care anymore about if it's authentic to news or in sports. Like you guys said, Bert Kreischer was on the MLB on Netflix broadcast.
In a canoe or in a kayak on the bay in San Francisco.
Do you really think Netflix gave two shits about whether Bert Kreischer knew anything about baseball? No. Bert Kreischer
is used it because of who he was.
Right. Well, if you ask Callan, he had no idea who Bert Kreischer was.
Never heard the guy.
Wow.
But my point is that they brought Kreischer in, they brought Jameis Winston in,
right?
Because they know that they're names, not because they're going to give you the X's and O's of Yankees Giants.
Right.
We don't care about analysis anymore. We care about names.
Exactly. Yeah, Zain, how about your thoughts on the World Cup? Obviously, I think I texted you yesterday morning watching the game on TNT because Chicago was the send-off game for them to come to L.A. for the first game. Because the Blackhawks anthem singer was doing the game, and I got mesmerized by the whole thing. And 70,000 people are at Soldier Field to watch Team USA play Germany yesterday. But Zain, maybe your perspective on how are you feeling away from like Team USA, but just about the vibe around the World Cup, though, that it's come back to America for the first time in 32 years since '94.
Massive. I mean, I was just talking. This is going to sound weird, but I was just talking to my barber last week when I went to go get a haircut, and he's like, "This is the most excited I've been for the World Cup in years." He's like, "I'm going to watch every single match, and it seems to be more accessible than ever, and everybody's into it. The tickets are astronomical. I could not imagine being a soccer fan and wanting to go see that. As someone who's a pure outsider, I'm just curious to see how well these games trend. And obviously, it seems based on the research I've done, meaning we as in the USA, we seem to have an uphill battle, but it should be really interesting. I'm someone who always watches the final every single time it's on, so I'll try to follow the World Cup as much as I can. I'm sure Empty the Pitch is going to help me out too a little bit, but yeah, it should be interesting.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, very fair, and obviously, and it's very cool though that the panel tonight we've got everybody, sadly except for Zain, everybody is within a few hundred miles of a World Cup venue. San Diego and LA, for example. Nick, of course, is over with New York, New Jersey. Ben's in Boston, and of course, David is in Philadelphia, as well as time has gone on here. And I think, Ben, the World Cup going to Boston's, Foxborough in plane, but they're calling it Boston Stadium because you can't put the corporate names on the stadiums around the country. And I was telling people when they first announced all the venues, this is what they're doing. NFL stadiums, yes, but look at what cities, though. All these markets that they picked have Major League Soccer franchises, and sadly, Chicago got left off the list, as did Minnesota when it came to
that's
USC Stadium.
unfortunate because if it would have been in either of those two cities, I would have tried everything to be a part of it because it seems like going to a World Cup match or even going to a World Cup viewing party is like a once in euphoria experience. I would have totally done it for sure.
And by the way, and coming up on June 23rd, 16 years to the day, we have a Benchmarks episode that just got finished from Nick yesterday with myself narrating about Landon Donovan's goal that beat Algeria in the 2010 World Cup and how that was like the birth moment of the, we're going to cut live to Times Square to watch everybody in New York celebrate this goal, or we're going to go to San Diego, we're going to go to LA. That was the first like real birth of the viral sports reaction video that was born of that time. And, obviously, and Ben Zain brought up a great point that, again, I'm going to 3 World Cup viewing parties right now down on the beachfront here at Belmont Park, which has a roller coaster that's been open since 1925. Literally, we're going to be at this open, outdoor gym. If you guys have seen Top Gun 1, you might recall that a lot of the film was shot here in town. And the locker room incident with Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer was shot at the Plunge, which is a very big public pool. So I'm going to be down in that area watching the World Cup on this, big old movie projector, watching the sunset, on the West Coast coming up for 3 games. Well, one of them is in the daytime. But I think, though, Ben, with being in the area, that, like Zan said, maybe you go to a bar to watch a game. Maybe you go to a watch party. What, Ben, though, would you say is probably like your optimism about just the whole tournament, that it's back in, it's in North America, but also it's back in the States, though, for the first time since '94?
Yeah, no, I think that, you guys really said a lot of it. I think just for casual fans, for like big time fans, I think just there's a way that, you're probably going to be connected at some point throughout this tournament, whether you're obviously just pulling for your country, whether you're actually like a big time soccer fan. And, like Zan said, I'm kind of more of a casual. I played soccer when I was played soccer when I was little. Like, obviously, I'll watch matches time to time, but probably definitely not as big as like you, Callan, or somebody else.
I mean, you'll go watch the Revs play probably every so often at Gillette.
When I was in college up there, I actually went to go play a lot of games, see a lot of games up there with my buddy who was a big soccer guy. But yeah, I mean, I think for like the Northeast, here in the States, I'm within New York and Boston. I think just 2 big time markets that obviously just feel a massive buzz right now for the summer. And I think, just, Philly, obviously, and Chicago. I mean, I saw the, stuff going on in Chicago, Zan, with the USA going on there. You would have thought that friendly yesterday felt like it was a game in terms of like not a non-friendly type of game atmosphere. So I think it's big for all parties. And I am looking forward to it a lot because I do feel like, with the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup and stuff, they kind of had like their overall buzz right now. But I do think once that is coming to an end, it's going to be really all on this and kind of like the Olympics in a way. And I think that it's really going to be awesome to watch. And I can't wait to see a lot of it because I really have not seen a lot of big time soccer as of late. And it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, San Diego just had 2 games this weekend at Snapdragon Stadium, home of San Diego Football Club in the wave of the NWSL. Matter of fact, Jimmy Butler of the Warriors, who's an investor of the wave, was actually at the Columbia Jordan match this afternoon. And they confined the ticket sales, I think, to just the lower bowl of Snapdragon. That holds about 35,000 people. I was told by my chapter president of the supporters group I'm a part of, about 20,000 people were at both games with both the Swiss national team playing the Australians yesterday, and then today was Colombia playing Jordan. So, even here in San Diego, as I already mentioned, I'll mention again, Wednesday morning, June 10th, I will be going to the New Zealand World Cup camp at the University of San Diego Wednesday morning. The school gave a bunch of tickets out to employees of the university. So they're going to be practicing at Torero Stadium from 10:45 a.m. till about 12:15. They're going to open it up for a 45 or hour-long post-training session meet and greet. Again, I'm out there shooting content for Empty the Pitch for, B-roll of their practices, maybe talk to some of the fans who are going to be there, getting their thoughts, and about their team. Again, they're in a group. They're in one of the other groups out there, but they are playing on the West Coast. And as I also said, that New Zealand and Switzerland are both actually in town to train. They are, again, the Kiwis are at the University of San Diego for their base camp, and then the Swiss national team for their base camp is the San Diego Jewish Academy off the State Route 56 up in Carmel Valley. And then Team USA will have their base camp at Great Park in Irvine, which is where the Anaheim Ducks have their practice rink and where I actually worked a rugby match at their stadium. So SoCal has been very much represented, of course, LA Stadium. SoFi is, of course, hosting matches in both the group stage round and, of course, in the playoff round, as is Foxborough, as is New York, New Jersey, at MetLife and stuff like that. And all that good stuff. And as a reminder, too, for those that are wondering, MLS has also gone on the 7-week break, as David mentioned before the show started, that there are no games until late July when the tournament finally does conclude, though, across Canada.
I was gonna say, Callan, and I apologize for interrupting. From a Chicago Fire standpoint, their next home match is not until July 16th.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, and San Diego FC is back to play Dallas July 25th on their Star Wars night, and I actually have that day off from work, so I'll be at the stadium for that one. Because last game I went to, they played Cincinnati, and it was around my birthday weekend, and it was a thrilling game. It went down to the wire with the game ending in a 3-3 tie. But certainly, though, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch how this whole tournament plays out, though. And again, that kicks off on Thursday with Mexico and South Africa getting things underway. With that in mind, Mr. Morganson, what do you got for us?
Well,
oh boy.
So we have breaking news, but I will get to that in a second before I tell you about this message. Look, we all have that one friend who thinks they know everything about the game, the one who drops a hot take so wild you have to stop and stare. Stephen A. Smith. Well, it's time to trade up for some better opinions. Tune into Give and Takes with Nate Miller, the only show brave enough to say out loud what you're already thinking on the TV. Join Nate every single week as he breaks down the biggest storylines, shuts down the hype trains, and delivers the unfiltered truths you won't get anywhere else. It's fast, it's funny, and it's completely unscripted. Catch Give and Takes with Nate Miller live every Monday tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Don't just watch the sports cycle happen. Get the real takes only on the Empty the Bench Network. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. So we've been talking a lot about the NBA Finals, also the World Cup, going to be at MetLife. Well, we got some not so good news out of the city right now.
Uh-oh.
We just had a massive stabbing take place tonight inside in Penn Station.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Great.
Oh, geez.
Home of the finals.
5 people stabbed in New York's Penn Station, suspect taken into custody. But
Oh my goodness.
5 people have been stabbed tonight inside of Penn Station. And mind you, I traveled in and out of Penn Station for 4 years, going to work in there. So we're talking about safety issues and potential issues tomorrow for the NBA Finals game at MSG.
Not good.
Jeez.
got a New York City question. How close is Penn Station to Madison Square Garden?
It's below
right
it.
above. It's right above.
Okay.
MSG is right above. They moved the exit to get out of Penn Station. You can't go up and right above it anymore. You have to go to the center and up the big stairs now. But it's right above. MSG is literally right above, which is not good. That a stabbing took place inside of Penn Station.
It's kind of like David with the Philly complex. It's like Boston and New York when it comes to stadium and train station. Train stations. Like TD Garden is North Station.
Okay.
And yeah, Penn Station is MSG. Chicago doesn't have it though for the United Center. They don't have it.
Yeah, the only place in San Diego that has a dedicated station for the stadium is actually Snapdragon. They built it there when it became Qualcomm in '97 as part of the Super Bowl project. They had to, I don't know if you guys remember seeing Qualcomm. David might remember, though, before '97, the east end zone was open to the to the valley before they enclosed it to add more seats for the '98 Super Bowl when the Broncos beat Green Bay, and they actually put a trolley station in the parking lot of then Qualcomm Stadium, Jack Murphy Field, and Petco Park. Your closest spots is either the Gaslamp Quarter, which is about maybe 2 blocks away or 12th and Imperial, which is about 3 blocks away, but still it's fairly close, but nothing directly by the ballpark. Right now, whenever I've gone, I just take a Uber or Lyft from where I live in the city, down the 163, 20-minute drive to downtown, get off and go to the bars, and it cost me like $20.
Yeah.
Callan, I went to Petco once when I went to San Diego with my family, and we took just like a Uber or something down into downtown because there's really no like direct like mass transit to really get there. And my parents were in Little Italy, I think, for the night anyway too.
Yeah. I mean, you could take the trolley from Little Italy because there's a station right there, a few blocks from the county administration building, and you can just take the Green Line right down to the Gassam Quarter. You get off there, and then you walk right to the ballpark.
Mhm.
But you know what? It's scary to me how dangerous New York City has become over the last couple of years with attacks on it, and now the question becomes: should Trump go to Game 3?
No, he'll be there
I mean,
regardless.
after tonight, I don't think so.
I think also another thing too with the president not only going there, but I was thinking about this obviously today. Is he trying to make an overall pitch with the World Cup, of course, coming to the States, and with New York City kind of being a massive big part in terms of the finals and everything like that? Is he not only? It's just kind of like an overall like conspiracy theory I have, but is there part of that to it in a way? Like him trying to promote himself of we have a big soccer thing that's coming in around this area, and I want to be there at least for it and talk to some people around and just certain guy. I don't know.
But what about screwing the fans, Ben, out of the watch party right outside MSG? Like they canceled it.
Yeah, well, there's a Knicks reporter that said that might have not all been true, but I don't know.
Oh no, the Secret Service got involved and canceled the.
Oh yeah, it's out.
Outside.
Yeah, I like I said earlier on the show too. I read the Knicks PR release on their IG account when I got the word when the news had come out that the president was going to go to Game 3, and then they put out this long release saying, Game 3 is Monday. Due to the nature of the event and due to logistics and security, expect TSA style security, and do not bring bags with you. Keep keep everything to a minimum. Phone keys, Pepto Bismol, as I always carry on me, and keep it to a minimum because and more importantly, get there 2 hours before game time at 8:40 Eastern. Damn.
Yeah, it's not a good look. There, according to notifications that went out in the city on social media, commuters should expect, quote, traffic delays, road closures, mass transit disruptions, and emergency personnel all around Penn Station most of the night.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a good. Once you're actually going to Game 3, I don't think it's a good day to go outside if you're in New York City tomorrow.
Hell no.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's a good idea.
I saw there's a guy I follow on Instagram, Shukri, right? Shout out to Shukri. He does stuff for the Fanatic in Philly now. But he was in the city yesterday, the day before. He went to a watch party and he was taking the train from Penn Station, I think, back to Philly later on the night. And it was like at midnight, and you could just see floods full of people, obviously in Penn Station, like waiting, of course, for their trains or just hanging out. And I'm like, this is like because you never see that ever.
And this goes and real quick, this goes to my point too about whenever I do go to Padre games, and Nick asked me, how's the game and when are you coming home? I said this is why I take like an hour or two to come home, because downtown is a zoo. Every Padre home game. Yeah, the team is god awful right now, but they sell out every single home game, especially when there's giveaway nights on, Monday through Thursday, or in my case, you go for the $5 happy hour on Fridays when you don't have anything to do for work. And then you got your Saturday night games and your Sunday military salute days with the camouflage jerseys. But it just takes forever to get out of downtown. And it's even worse, guys, when Comic-Con rolls around, and that's why the Padres go on a 10-game road trip every July, during the course of it, because they actually have to use Petco Park because downtown is just not big enough to contain Comic-Con. I went one year with the girl I was dating, and it was fun. But my brother goes every year. Him and he takes my nephew and niece. They enjoy it. I'm a very big theme park guy, but not really a big comic book fan and stuff like that. But I'm a local. I need to go at least once. And I finally got to do it, though. It was cool. I got to meet Scott Steiner, the longtime former WCW, WWE wrestler back in the day, and did a few things here and there, but nothing like that really blew my mind, though. But like all of downtown, though, is a nightmare when that convention comes around. I mean, you literally have to enter a lottery to try to get a hotel room within miles and blocks of the convention center during the 3 days that the event is in town. So during Padre games, so during Padre games, for example, I sent Nick a picture after the first game I went to of the view of the rooftop bar I go to called the Altitude Sky Lounge. It's on 6th and K Street, right behind Petco Park in left field. You literally can go stand up there 22 stories high and look in to watch the game from up top. And I go there and have a couple of drinks and maybe grab some food. But I literally look down and watch all these little ants walking out of Petco Park when it's, 40,000 people there to watch the Padres play a game. Then I'll go home or maybe go to another bar, though, or move away from the ballpark because the pricing for ride shares around that hotel are just god awful. And you really, it's a lot like getting out of the ballpark. There's no right way for you to come in because every road around the ballpark perimeter is closed for like 3 blocks north, as is the case. So, I mean, this news, though, that Nick just broke, though, was just very concerning. The day before the NBA Finals head back to New York for the first time in 27 years.
And before Game 1 and Game 2, because they still had massive watch parties outside of MSG.
I think we're going to ban them, right? Unless they got the proper permits to do it.
They banned them for the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they brought them back.
So after Game 1, 6 people got arrested after they celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
After Game 2, I don't think anybody got arrested, but they had like the whole Men in Black FBI situation, like outside of Madison Square Garden, and they're going to continue to do that. And I think it's going to be double or triple.
Oh yeah,
since the games are at home,
all hands on deck,
hands on deck, and a lot of overtime on deck. Yes.
If you even lift your hand, you might get a cop or an FBI agent after you. Like,
I solemnly swear I will not kill anybody.
No, but the Secret Service is going to be all over MSG tomorrow, which is, can you imagine walking around MSG, whether it's outside or inside? And
just wait till the World Cup final when I'm sure he'll show up for that one too at MetLife Stadium in New York, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Well, all the countries' presidents usually show up to the World Cup.
Usually. For sure.
I actually think I'm going to speak quick. I think the thing tomorrow will actually be worse than the World Cup final.
I think so too.
I just don't know what to expect, but tomorrow's going to be like a bad version of like 10 times version of the TSA, where if you move a muscle or you breathe, they're going to hold a weapon up to you.
And that's actually a very interesting interesting tidbit that just came to me because I recall I think I did a benchmarks episode. It's coming out eventually. Nick and I have been so slammed though with with things when it's come to small market edition and benchmarks. But I think there was a story that I did for the World Cup time. We're releasing a lot of soccer content during the World Cup here as the tournament gets underway on the 11th. That I believe it was a Mexico. A Liga MX, so the Mexican Pro League down in Mexico. I think it was a final game in April or in May of 89 or 85, I think. Pumas versus Club America. And this was before they had what they called the FIFA defensive zone, where you were allowed to be around the stadium without a ticket in your possession. And people had died in a tunnel leading to a section of seats, and it was already overcrowded. 2 hours for kickoff time, and they were using tear gas to control the crowd. Though it actually killed, I think, 11 people, and the game was still played because they were fearful of there being a riot. The game didn't start on time or was not played. It was in wake of that, and Nick always says this all the time. It's always after tragedy that they change up their policies when it comes to everything. Right. Literally, after that happened. They then, FIFA then made it a requirement. If you don't have a ticket, you cannot be anywhere near the stadium perimeter whatsoever because of what happened at this game, though, down there. So I think, though, Morganson, this kind of feels like that, though, come tomorrow, that if you're not going to the finals, stay away from the Garden.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would stay far away from New York City tomorrow.
There's actually a big, like, in terms of like staying away, but you could still kind of feel the atmosphere. Bless you, that's my brother.
Salud.
There's there's a big watch party actually by Yankee Stadium, Nick, at Billy's Sports Bar.
Yeah, I heard
They have a
about
big one over there, and
Yep.
He's gonna go wear his net stuff.
Yeah, okay.
But like you could be able to get to one that's within out of reach.
I get it, but I don't want to be in the city if they win
No.
tomorrow.
Oh.
Because
Or as David was saying, what if they actually win the title?
well, they would have to sweep if that was going to happen.
Did
But
you guys
Just
see,
in
by the
just
way?
in general, what if they just win the title in general, regardless if it's at home or not?
Oh, New York's going to be a mess.
Did you guys see the video of the guy? I think it was after they celebrated game 2. There's a Knicks fan. I'm could you not? It was pretty impressive, but it was a guy on a bike that had a trash can, a massive trash can that was on his head.
Is he playing for the
And
2017 Astros?
he legitimately was able to balance the trash can on his head and ride it in the city, like, and then he put a tire on his head. I'm like, bro, like this guy has to be like, I don't know what it is, but
I think I saw a video real quick from
that was
Liam.
crazy.
I think I saw a video from Liam on his IG story of a guy climbing one of the poles in Manhattan. Like, oh, so they're doing their best Philadelphia Eagle fan impersonations there, David.
It's like I
Grease
said,
the poles, damn it! Grease the poles.
I've already seen like celebrations for 1 and 2. That's why I said I think if they win the title, I can't imagine what that parade's going to be like. Like
They're going to go down they will go down the Kennedy Heroes. I guarantee you that right here and right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Ticker
You'll
tape
have
parade down
everybody
the
on
Kennedy
the
Heroes.
floor.
Book it right now.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. I just think fan wise, it would probably be the worst parade ever in New York City history for a championship team. Worse than the Yankees. Worse than the Mets. Worse than the Giants. I just think.
Well, I'm thinking about this right now too. If there happened to be a parade, how much it would affect the travel with the World Cup coming around with New York?
Oh, that's right.
Well, I'm thinking the series is going to be over before
Because I think didn't the mayor say that they're worried about Game 6 possibly conflicting with the game at MetLife?
Well, actually, and Zan's not on at the moment, but we could have asked him too. Think about it. Freedom 250 on that Sunday. I think there could be an NBA Finals game possibly on that day. Too, depending on how
that would be correct. But they would still do the fight regardless though.
But think about this. So they're going to have Freedom 250 well, yes, and possibly NBA Finals. I think it's like Game 6. I think
Game 6.
Yeah,
Game 6, I think, is the same day as there being a World Cup match at MetLife. Yes.
And isn't there something else that day too? If I'm not mistaken?
Dodgers, Yankees.
Oh my God! But first of all, I think the finals and Freedom 250 would probably be higher on the
Go
list.
ahead, David.
So I'm looking. Because I pulled up SeatGeek because I wanted to see tickets. Saturday 13th in New York, New Jersey is Brazil and Morocco. So that's going to be sold. I mean, tickets are already the cheapest one there is $1,600. First game. Yeah.
But I mean, it's Brazil though, so they'll draw. So that makes sense.
Oh,
Brazil's coming to Philly. It's over $1,000. Oh, they were. So I was just looking. I don't know when the next one is for. Okay, Tuesday 3:00. There's a game, France and Senegal. But that say they win it, that could be parade day. Imagine that and a parade with the Knicks.
Oh my God.
Speaking of the World Cup, Callan, you might have a crazy day in sports. You might have 3 World Cup matches on the same day as the Conor McGregor fight on July 11th. That might be one of the craziest days in sports in recent memory, with everything else that's going to be going on that day too. So you want to talk about a sports overload for the next?
Oh yeah, and I think Zan, I believe, is that fight going to be from Vegas, or are they going to be fighting somewhere else on July 11th?
It's in Vegas at T-Mobile.
Should have known.
Mm-hmm. It's in Vegas at T-Mobile, and the most expensive ticket is $25,000 for the.
Oh
fight.
my God. That's ridiculous.
But you know what? We laughed at that yet 7 times more, and that's the Knicks game tomorrow night.
Oh yeah,
for $180,000.
I mean, I felt very fortunate getting to 2 Golden Knight games for less than $100 when I went and saw them play a preseason game and then a regular season game versus the Blues at T-Mobile.
By the way,
when you were mentioning how crazy it is to get out of Petco Park, to get out of Wrigley Field is
I've heard
unbelievable
stories. Yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I did that once, Zain, and I was just going to try to get to the train, and it was ridiculous.
I bet. I bet.
And then
They
David, for
don't know
you
how to
though, like,
manage it very well sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
David, I was going to ask, by the way, because the Union play in Chester, they don't play in Philadelphia proper. They're a lot like the LA Galaxy playing in Carson, not in the proper.
Yeah.
Like, how far is that commute for you, by the way, from where you live in Philly?
10 minutes. Literally, it's take a side road, go through like this one town called Upland, get on 95 South. I know they call it Upland. Go on 95 South. Now you go through the city of Chester, go on 95 South. Yeah, south. Take the first exit, which is the Commodore Barry Bridge, and then it's right there underneath. 10 minutes away. Now, getting home is a different story.
I figure it is, yes.
Yeah. We all just I just always keep the car moving.
Yeah, I live about 7 miles away from Snapdragon, but that's either I take a Uber right from my house to the stadium, which is about $10-15, and then after the game, I'll take the trolley home. But even then, it's still like it's a zoo leaving that stadium too, because they got all this construction going on.
Yeah,
because where Qualcomm used to be, they're building mixed use property for SDSU's Western campus, so classrooms, dormitories, retail, all that sort of garbage is being built, and that's taken up half the parking lot. So all of us, because we have a dedicated, and David, you would probably know that Sons of Ben have the sports group union that they have. I'm sure they have their tailgate parties at one part. Same with us at Frontera SD. All of ours are in the purple lot, and it feels like a mile walk from the trolley station all the way to the parking lot, and then you got all these roads closed off because of all the construction for what's coming for the property next.
Yeah, it's underneath a bridge. The tailgating, literally, it's underneath a bridge, and then right across the street is called Union Works. It's open for games. It's like a pub, not a pub. It's almost like a for craft beers type of thing, whatever it is. The only thing I would always tell people in general is you do not want to break down outside that area. It is a bad part of town.
I bet.
Yeah.
That reminds me, David. We got to bring you out when Philly comes to San Diego in September to play SDFC for the first time ever, so I can see my guy Milan Olaski.
I mean, that's the only thing. Yeah, unless they trade him, that's the only thing good about that guy, because that team is just a mess.
Yeah, I've heard. I think it was like worst start in franchise history or MLS history or what have you.
Yeah, they traded away all the scorers from last year, like 40% of their offense. They have the youngest team in the league, and they just fired the coach. And everybody hates the owner, and they don't like the what do you call it? Like the I guess you call it the minority owner, who is Kevin Durant of the Houston Rockets.
Big surprise.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I said, James Harden's part of it. He's part of the Houston franchise, so they're all got the little business thing going. But yeah, the Union they just suck. Yeah. That's all I can say in one word. They just do.
Manny Machado, investor of SDFC.
Hey, David.
Jimmy Butler, investor of San Diego Wave FC.
Dave, we're gonna have to do
the other teams in the pits right now, the Western Conference.
Dave, you might have to do a State of the Union on their team.
No, I think everybody has it. I know exactly. Got it. Hey, the State of the Union is just try and win a game or two.
Hey, you can't steal State of the Union. That's Nate's thing on his show.
Yeah, I was gonna say what? Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, I think it's time to wrap it up, Callan. What
Yeah.
do you got?
Oh man, before we lock up the doors, the championship landscape has completely tilted on its axis on this Sunday. We opened up though first with the big news about a lawsuit potentially plaguing UFC Freedom 250. It's not going to go anywhere. But then the Knicks putting up a stranglehold on the NBA Finals with a 2-0 series lead, while the Vegas Golden Knights adjusted it perfectly to protect a 2-1 edge on the ice after almost covering up a 4-0 lead. We also broke down the French Open and also looked through baseball's panic moves right now, and also looked at the World Cup from a broader perspective as the tournament kicks off this upcoming Thursday. My thanks goes out to both to David Weightman, Nick Morgeson, and Zain Bando for holding down the bar for the last 3 hours. Reminder, gang, set those alarms for our Monday lineup again. Fight IQ with our good man Tom Albano tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, followed by Give and Takes with our good man Nate Miller at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And again, do not miss our coverage of the World Cup starting this Wednesday, as Into the Pitch will premiere as we cover the World Cup beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific time. That is also happening, as we already said, after I come back from the New Zealand Open training camp here at USD's Truro Stadium. And we also have our grand debut to kick off ATP's actual coverage of the tournament on June the 13th at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern. That is going to be bracketed by Team USA's first game of the tournament on Friday the 12th versus Paraguay. Again, Trevor and I will have instant reaction of that first game of the tournament after it goes final right here on ETB. And also, again, more importantly, join Nick and Johnny tomorrow on Monday for a recap of Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the Knicks and the Spurs from MSG in New York, New York. And maybe we'll have something on Tuesday before Cranium starts with Ben and maybe myself having some Stanley Cup coverage after a thrilling ending to Game 3 on Saturday.
You get everything here.
Covering all the bases finally.
Heading for the cycle really quickly as well, too, on Thursday night. We're trying to kind of make it Thursday night as a consistent night. Me, David, Nate Miller, speaking of Nate, and our boy Ryan Tuick.
Yeah, we finally got that show in a consistent spot. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, and we've had some of our top viewers on that, so I think we're going to keep on going. And if not break, don't fix it.
Yeah,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Those show views have been incredible the last 2 weeks. I mean, I can't complain about it. So,
with that in mind, though, gang, the stadium lights are turning off, but here our neon stays on. We are back with you folks again next Sunday, leading you into Tom and Zan's recap of UFC Freedom 250, because that lawsuit is not going anywhere. But until then, sorry, gang, but the lounge is officially closed until next Sunday. Again, we're going to be with you all the way until the end of UFC 250, so we should be in our regular 3-hour time slot next Sunday. We will also have Nick DiMartino back with us as well next week, as well when he gets back from Ben's home state of Connecticut for his weekend getaway this past weekend. Folks.
Making those unnecessary wagers.
Yeah, I mean, he should have been out here to put waiters down on the Mets. Oh, wait, you can't gamble in California. Sorry. With that in mind, though, folks, for Nick Morganson, Zain Bando, Ben Cruz, and David Weightman, Callan McClurg saying good night here from Southern California. Till next week, have a great night, and we'll see you back here next week. Till then, bye-bye.
See you guys.
Cheers, everyone.